Hi, this is Mark Meir, the voice of Commander Shepard, and you're tuned in to the EnteR ChazmaN podcast, my favorite podcast on the Citadel. ChazmaN and Phoenix, let the conversations begin. To the Normandy.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the EnteR ChazmaN podcast, where, as always, this is your place to hear about all the nerdy video game news that has caught the interest of me and my buddy Phoenix. Just a quick thing I just wanted to say, if you guys were interested in the audio version up here, I should have all of them right there. And just get right into it, Phoenix, man. How have you been? I know you've been kind of, I don't want to say down in the dumps the last few weeks, but do you want to talk about that?
No, I've been great. I'll tell you, it's been really nice finally being able to escape from your basement for a few weeks, get some fresh air.
He found the key. He found the key somewhere. I don't know where. I
think I'm just a glutton for punishment, though. So I'm back to subject myself to more terrible Halo TV show discussions and weird video game news. I guess I'm just I'm the Johnny Depp to your Amber Heard. What can I say?
Amber Turd. That's her nickname.
Have you been watching that at all this past week? Like, there's been some choice stuff. The crazy expert with the Gatorade bottle, like, that was a good one.
I've caught some of it watching some podcasts, and it definitely seems like a giant poop show, to say the least. Yeah. From what I understand, she has some of the worst representation that someone could have. I mean,
maybe. Man, I'm no lawyer, so I'm not going to judge by any means, but yeah, they are not coming across very strong or confident. And I don't know, it's just because they know she's guilty. I don't know, I'm having a hard time, but...
her lawyer, retracted something he said immediately, or what's the... what's the term? He objected himself.
Well, I mean, I guess there was actually some... there was some rationale for that. I was watching someone discuss that. Like he called him out on hearsay, which technically it was an accurate statement, but he phrased it really poorly for that particular situation. So it sounded like he was, basically objecting to his own question when he was supposed to be like striking the response that the person on the stand gave. But regardless, it's been a circus, man. But I've been enjoying it. It's been fun.
Yeah. There was another point that I thought was pretty funny. There was another moment where her lawyers were talking, or were grilling Johnny for something, and the lawyer straight up calls him an idiot at one point. And
it was an expert that called him an idiot, or at least the phrasing of it.
Yeah.
It came across.
It came
so
across,
bad.
and his lawyer was like, "Did you just call Johnny Depp an idiot?" And he's like, "No, I said he was acting idiotically or something," and it was just like, come on, man.
Yeah, that's the crazy expert who's like sipping Gatorade on the stand. Man,
like I said, I haven't really been paying attention, but definitely on Twitter or during some podcasts I listen to whenever they talk about a segment or something. There was another one I thought was hilarious. What was it when they were interviewing somebody, and the person was working while they were interviewing him, and he was in his car. I guess he was like an Uber or a delivery driver or something. And he's sitting there smoking, and he's flying around driving, and they're asking him questions, and he didn't have a seatbelt on, and he's being recorded. It's like come on, man. I don't know.
Yeah, good times.
Yeah, Johnny, man. Then he knows how to entertain. He's an entertainer at heart. But yeah, so I guess we'll just I'll mention a couple of the topics that we have for today. Once again, we are kind of coming back from a bit of a break, and I don't know. I feel like we missed a couple of the really juicy ones during our break. We never got to talk about the Embracer Group and all of that stuff. I mean, we don't have to talk about it now, but that was kind of an interesting topic that kind of sucks. I wanted to do a video on at some point. That's old news at this moment.
We can bring it back up. I think on the docket we have some merger discussions to get into, so maybe that might pop back up. We'll see.
Yeah. So a couple of the major things we have going for today. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Raven and their recent union. That's a hard word to say. Unionization efforts going on over there. And then we're going to talk about some recent rumors with EA and what they could possibly be doing. We're going to talk about a game that I actually recently played that I very much enjoyed. And we'll be bringing up kind of my final wrap-up thoughts on Halo, at least. I don't know if Phoenix is a glutton for punishment. If he's with
said I was.
With that Season 2. But yeah, so I don't even know where to start. We said we wanted to start off with... I want to switch over. I wanted to kind of bring up something kind of funny. How many of you out there like NFTs, huh? Hands?
Everybody, right?
Everyone knows all about NFTs. But one of a guy that me and Phoenix are very familiar with is Seth Green. I would say, how are you most familiar? Because I would say like Buffy? Something that we used to watch
Buffy,
a lot.
Austin Powers, Robot Chicken.
Chicken, yeah. I totally forgot about Robot Chicken.
I was watching him in something, so...
Yeah.
In general, I'm a fan of Seth Green, but this particular venture seems a little misguided.
Yeah, I totally agree. If you don't know, I'm not going to go into, I won't say everything, but from what I understand, he had an NFT, there's Bored Ape. For some reason, I don't know much about NFTs, but apparently these ape-based NFTs, it's not even like a form of NFT, it's just a picture of an ape. I guess if you don't know, an NFT is a non-fungible token, which I've never actually looked up what exactly that means. I just know it's an image. I mean, how much do you know about this stuff?
It doesn't have to be... in many cases, yeah, it's a image, but it doesn't have to be an image.
Or a GIF. It could be a GIF as well.
There's a bunch of things it could be. It's just, it's based on blockchain technology. So basically, it's making a token that can't be... or it has to be unique. It can't be, duplicated or modified. Basically, it's a way to show ownership using blockchain. And the whole point is it gives you ownership over digital, goods, whatever that may be. But NFTs don't have to necessarily be images, to my understanding.
Really?
The concept behind that could be applied. A non-fungible token just means you could apply that type of concept to any digital medium. Like you have games that are NFTs. You could have, for example, what was it? It was a Ubisoft. Tom Clancy something.
Was it Quartz? Quartz or something?
Yeah. Yeah, that NFT like mask you could earn or stuff. It's basically just like digital goods that get tied to a unique token that is only associated with you and your account that is supposed to be, safeguarded and whatnot. You can then sell it and, it's an item that's supposed to obtain some level of value to it, just like, a piece of art or whatnot. The weird thing, though, that people, take issue with is, okay, so it's a digital good. To reproduce it, it's just, replicating the digital files. Like, especially with images, that's the big crux, because you copy and paste an image. Is it truly the original? No, but for all intents and purposes, for the way you're going to use an image, it's the same thing. Yeah. So I think that's where images kind of get a bad rap. As far as other goods, I think I'm certainly not a proponent for NFTs. I do think the technology, depending on how it's used, could find some way of being beneficial. Like one use that I either read about or I talked to somebody about way back when was basically, say you bought digital games primarily, like you have your entire Steam library. If those are all tied to an NFT, you could basically sell your digital games. So they actually have a value beyond just sitting on your account. Not that there aren't other ways to do that, but that's supposed to be one particular avenue to do so.
Well, that's interesting. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
Well, no, I won't go on much further. I guess the only issue is, from what we've seen as far as how NFTs are being used, most of them, especially from all these corporations, they're using them in ways that benefit corporations, like increased spending and recurring play habits, stuff like that. And then the potential usages that would benefit consumers, like being able to sell your own game library, stuff like that, nobody's investing in, because I don't think that benefits the right people. So I think that's where things get a little shady. And then there's a whole market built like scammers and whatnot, which is kind of where this is going.
Well, that's interesting. I'll be honest, I didn't know about a lot of these other different ways they're being utilized. I very much was a layman. I kind of thought it was just images and GIFs and of the sort. So that is interesting. I mean, because I've always had a differing opinion of the NFT versus the crypto, where like I actually do feel like crypto in some forms does have some sort of logical or tangible use. Like I feel like there may be a sort of future when it comes to certain cryptos, not all of them, but I feel like, I don't know. But again, that is interesting that you kind of bring up how they're being utilized in some ways that doesn't necessarily just I mean, because essentially how they're being, to me, it seems like they're just being utilized as like scamming people, using it ways to hide funding. It's, I don't know.
So here's something. It's all based on the same thing. Crypto, NFTs, it's all based on blockchain. And the issue with that is, at least for most of these cryptocurrencies, they only have value as long as people trust in the value of it.
Well, it's
That's
the same
why
as the
it's
stock
so
market.
volatile.
Yeah.
Yeah, except it's more volatile because, I mean, there's nothing really tangible to it in some ways. So, I mean, it can just literally, like, if the whole market fell out from under you, you're left with literally nothing. Like, you don't have any kind of like product or whatnot to, try to monetize at the end. You could lose everything. So, it's odd. I'm by no means a crypto expert. My knowledge is pretty shallow.
I dabble in some crypto and have some money in there, but it's,
You got your Dogecoin working for you?
Actually, no. Most of my money I have is in Bitcoin. I don't know. I've kind of, I feel like Dogecoin. Oh gosh, this has become the crypto NFT show here. I feel like, in my opinion, Dogecoin has kind of seemed. I'm struggling to think of how to phrase it. It seems a little bit too memey and a little too cult of, popularity. Where like, it's
It's a meme currency. I mean,
yeah, and whereas like
that's the whole thing. Like, it can have value if everybody gets behind it and says it has value. Essentially, so if enough people are behind the meme pushing it, it could go up. But it's the thing. Are you going to trust your investment on a meme? I'm not a big fan of that.
No.
But, some people will, and some people make some money off it. Good for them. That's just, I'm not the riskiest investor in the world, but maybe that's why I'm not sitting on Scrooge McDuck money right now. I take the safer routes.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing with Ethereum. I feel like I've heard Ethereum can be beneficial, or it's more beneficial when used in terms of purchasing stuff online, whereas like Bitcoin and Dogecoin, I believe those ones were pushing more to be used, like they wanted to actually be used in like storefronts and be used in like that's their goal, whereas like Ethereum, from what I understand, primarily is just wanting to be used like online. And I believe Ethereum is the main currency with many of these NFT mediums or companies. So I don't know. I went with Bitcoin just because it's like it's the strongest and it's been around probably the longest, and it's pretty. It seems like it's been pretty reliable in terms of bouncing back. So, and especially the last like month or so, since crypto has been so down, I don't know. I've kind of thrown a couple $100 at it and been like, let's see if this turns into $1,000 or $2,000. You know what I mean?
That's fair. I mean, cryptocurrency isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's too volatile for my liking, but that doesn't mean it's isn't a valid form of currency. I guess one thing I'll just mention, because I mean, everybody gives NFT like a super bad name, and for good reason. But I think a lot of people then kind of demonize blockchain because that's kind of the underlying technology. But blockchain isn't necessarily just this big scamming technology. I just want to mention that. Like, I use look into blockchain from like a research standpoint for like data collection. It serves a lot of usages there for how to like create like large data sets that are validated and verified. So there's good stuff to that technology beyond just NFTs and whatnot.
I believe most of the problem people have with the whole idea of blockchain is I think they automatically tie the whole idea of these what do they call them, the Bitcoin generating places where you have like these big bit mining, where like they automatically tie it to like these places out in the middle of nowhere mining, using up the world's resources heating
that's
up,
what I'm saying. Like, you attach blockchain onto the negatives of crypto mining and NFTs, and it just kind of gives the whole thing a really bad taste. But blockchain does have valid usages in a lot of industries. People use it a lot for supply chains and whatnot, which I know that's the boring stuff. Nobody cares about that. But blockchain itself, all this is a technology, right? With any technology, it can be used really negatively, really positively. It just depends whose hands it's in. NFTs used for the right purpose might be really neat. We're just not seeing it used for that. And I think in general, especially the way that most
I've been
industries
saying
have
that
gone,
for a while now, though, that I feel like some of these things do have like a value, or will, or not. They already have plenty of value, but like, I mean, they will.
I mean, value even beyond like monetary value.
Yes,
I mean, like
yeah.
a value to like an industry or a better way to do something, things like that. So the technology, I think, can definitely be a benefit. It's just right now it's slapped on with all these negative use cases. So we'll see if that changes over time.
It's actually something I was going to bring up, but do you think the proper use or the better utilization of these, of these things won't be really like founded, or won't be really like pushed for until there is like some sort of legislation or government overwatch on some of these things? Because I feel like that's why you see people like Seth Green, like a Gary Vaynerchuk, so heavily involved with these NFT and crypto markets, is because it's so unregulated. There is absolutely no regulation on like any of this stuff, and
that's the point. I mean, if you add regulation to it, it starts defeating the purpose of how this blockchain works. So that gets really tricky.
Because that's coming. That's going to happen eventually. I mean,
no. I said it's hard because the whole way blockchain works is this. It's an anonymous, basically, ledger system that it's supposed to be built upon the trust of itself. It's separating itself from like centralized, transaction authentication, stuff like that. So I'm not saying regulation can't be applied, but I don't know. It feels kind of counterintuitive to the way that these things are supposed to operate.
Yeah,
but to answer your question, because you were asking like, will these technologies move forward or not? Here's the thing, blockchain already is in so many industries. It's moved forward and is doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes that nobody really knows about. We're just seeing the stuff that the media wants to kind of attach on to, like the big scammy stuff where people are losing lots of money or gaining lots of money or whatever it is, and that's what we're seeing. That doesn't mean there's going to be a slowdown on how things like blockchain is being used or implemented. Like, it is really starting to become a major usable technology in a bunch of different fields and industries. We just don't see that because that's not the really flashy, exciting, critiquey stuff that we have to look at. So,
you've convinced me. I feel like I want to empty out my index fund right now.
Go.
No, stick with the S&P 500, guys. I mean, if you can play it risky all you want, but S&P. I don't think I've ever heard of the S&P being a bad investment. I don't know.
If someone makes, $1 gajillion off selling their board monkey, more power to them. I mean, good for them. If they
I'm at the point where like I feel like I'm a good person, but I'm at the point where it's like, let me cut me a little bit off of there. I mean, all these people making dirty money. I don't know.
It's not all dirty money. It's people trying to take advantage or strike while the iron's hot. The problem is this was a very short-lived iron. I mean, that's not the way to phrase that, but NFT like boosted up huge, like what you'd say mid of last year, and then I felt like within 2 months they got so much pushback and just so much trust was kind of dropped out of the system that they have just bottomed out.
It'll be interesting. Oh God.
No, go ahead.
It'd be interesting to see how NFT, the lifespan and life cycle of it works, because I mean, crypto's still a fairly new thing too. It's only been around for 12, 14 years, or realistically, I mean. And it really didn't gain steam until 2012, 14, somewhere around there. So it's not like crypto has had a huge, full lifespan.
Yeah, I think the idea of NFT in some shape or form will live on. I think it will just change from being this hopefully exploitative, what's a way to say this? Just type of way of using it. Like hopefully down the line they find more general use cases. Like as I said, if I could tie my game library onto it, I think that'd be great because I have a pretty big digital game library. If I could start selling, some of those 300 games in Steam I'm never going to touch again, that'd be awesome. So I don't know. And I don't know if that's the route that anybody's going to take. And right now, a lot of companies just want to stay away from it because of the negative connotation it brings with it. So maybe that's 5-6 years down the line when it's I don't know, reintroduced or rebranded or rephrased. It'll probably be a very similar, if not the same technology, but something a little more palatable to the industry and the consumers.
Okay, so tying it all back around,
We haven't even started the topic.
I know. I didn't even think we were gonna go on down the rabbit hole on on crypto and NFTs. But essentially, all that switch over. Essentially, all that happened basically with Seth Green is that he had this big giant TV show that was slated to launch, that was all that surrounded this whole Bored Ape crypto that he had, and he had like the copyright to that specific NFT all tied up in that whatever. And apparently he got, I don't even know what phished is, but he got phished. I'm assuming it's someone hacking his accounts or whatever.
Right. Like it's like when you get an email that's like from your bank account, be like, oh no, there's an issue with your bank account.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's one of those kind of things.
But yeah, he basically got scammed, and they hacked it, took a handful of NFTs, including that one, and apparently they immediately sold it. Of course, I mean, they immediately sold it. Let's see, did it say how much? Well,
like 40-something thousand, or on one of the articles I read, I thought it said. I don't know if it's in the one you're on.
I'm not sure, but yeah, he essentially 4 NFTs. Blah, 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 blah.
Oh wait, no, it says now who purchased it for more than 100,000. Ooh.
Yeah, it says right here 42,000 for.
Oh, that's one of them. Flipped it, and then who purchased it for more than 100,000?
200,000. Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, I can't read my eyes. Sorry.
Yeah, but yeah. Whoever stole it, they immediately sold it, and then from what I understand, Seth Green and then it got sold a second time. So from what I understand, Seth Green, as of right now, has been trying to contact the second seller, telling him, "Hey, this is stolen. Can I get it back?" And I don't think any progress has been made there. I don't know. I don't know why the second person would still have it. I'm assuming. Well, these things don't go up in value, from what I understand. I mean, they
NFTs
tend to drop.
Well, they can go up. Then saying they will. It's like with anything. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna try to speculate on how much this bored monkey is worth, but
yeah.
It could go up or down. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, it's all just like. It's just kind of wacky. I mean, you have this whole TV show based on this thing, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna act like I understand it. I just thought it was. It's also just kind of weird again for like someone like Seth Green, or again, this guy Gary Vaynerchuk. If you don't know, is actually he's the guy that actually runs this whole VCon thing, which is this big event that's surrounding NFTs and cryptos, and apparently that's where Seth Green actually introduced his trailer for his TV show thing. But again, you got these rich guys, Gary V, Seth Green, worth multi-million dollars, and it's like, just why do you guys need more money? I mean, I know why, but especially.
I'm not gonna get into that argument because that's a whole thing.
It's just like, at least with like Seth Green, like at least Gary V, like he's known as just being a business mogul scammer, so it's like, okay, whatever. I get why he's in it, because he's looking for more money, but like Seth Green,
but that may not be Seth Green's only motive here. I mean, he was creating a new show. He might have looked at it as a creative endeavor, and I'm not saying he didn't have any pie in the sky ideas on making some extra cash out of this thing when it's all said and done. Because he basically had the character in a show that he could monetize by selling it if he wanted to. But I mean, he'd be making a show that's very topical on something that's occurring right now. A lot of people have an opinion on. So I think from a creative standpoint, there's some meat there. But I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to say how he would end up using it, if it is just kind of a bait and switch to try to get some more money, or if there's any kind of creative validity to what he's doing. I don't know. I think the bigger issue here is the fact that you would base your whole thing on something that is so easily exploitative. Like that, well, maybe not easy, but we've seen very recently so many different, hacks and intrusions that have basically pulled the rug out from under a lot of these NFT organizations. So it's definitely not something that's all that secure in a lot of ways. If somebody knows how, they can hack in, take your what would be your property, and then exploit it. So I don't know. That seems like a pretty risky venture to me, beyond just the fact you're buying an image. So
yeah, I think what Seth Green should really be sad about is how his how he spelled friends here, Frens.
Well, friends.
No one has ever spelled it that way.
Maybe he's trying to start a new trend.
Yeah. So once again, I mean, it's kind of sad. I mean,
I'm not going to lose any sleep over it.
No, I'm not either.
I like Seth Green well enough for what he's put out there, entertainment-wise, but, he made this decision. I mean, he might have been, influenced by guys like Gary Vee or whatnot to have some unwise investments, but, it was his choice at the end, his money, so sucks for him. I mean...
Yeah, again, I'll just say, like, it is kind of like, I mean, you're involved with NFTs and stuff, which again we've talked about regulation, but it's like this is part of the downfall of being a part of something that's not regulated. It's like if you get scammed, man, there's nobody out there that's gonna have your back. Like, there's no agency that's gonna like go after these people that stole your stuff.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we'll move on to something else. I mean, what else did I have on the doc? The Sony just announced today there was a Sony State of Play event that just got announced. So Phoenix and I talked, and we said we're going to talk about it right now. So yeah, just today Sony announced that there is a Sony State of Play that's going to be happening very soon. It says here on June 2nd. It says, so once again, we've talked about this idea before, but expectations. Sony here is already telling you what exactly is going to be happening here. Feel free to stop me at any time, Phoenix, if you want to mention anything.
No, I'm just kidding.
But we mentioned it the last time, because remember, Phoenix, when people got in the hubbub about the previous State of Play, because they had all these expectations, well, once again, Sony has already announced that this one is going to be 30 minutes long, so that's incredibly short for like a major presentation. But they've already announced that basically pretty much it's just going to be reveals from their third-party partners, and there's going to be a sneak peek at several games in development that are tied to VR2. So you're going to get some third-party games, some VR-based games, and it says it right here, it doesn't sound as though PlayStation first-party exclusives will be a huge part of this particular broadcast. So,
the thing is, like, even when they set expectations, people are going to be disappointed no matter
what.
Oh,
no matter what. Yeah, even
me. Like, I mean, I certainly appreciate they're telling us what to expect, and I don't think, there's any fault if they only adhere to that, but here's the thing, we come from, the big E3 surprises, especially around this time. Like, I know E3 is not a thing well, I'm not going to say anymore, but this year, and that's, kind of pulled the rug out from under that whole idea of, these big, crazy events where just anything can happen, but you still want it. Like, I still, I'm nostalgic for that kind of thing and hopeful that I'll see that again in one of these. Like, how cool would it be if all of a sudden they announced a brand new, I don't know, what's a new PlayStation franchise we haven't seen in a while.
Cooper. Dude, you just took the freaking game out of my mouth. I was going to say a new Sly Cooper would make me happy.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there is a door there where they could do stuff, and and here's the other thing too. Yes, they set expectations, but they haven't said they won't show anything else. So that little crack in the door might leave people open to hope, maybe a little more hopeful than they should be. But
I think what makes this one possibly more disappointing right off the bat, even before seeing it, is everyone knows that the Xbox event is right around the corner. So I think because this one is going before that, most people are going to feel like this is their answer, to a major event that Xbox, has set up for the dock. So I think. I don't know. I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying what people think, and with this being so closely tied to that, people are going to think this is their answer. Whereas, like, they may have another event next month or 2 months down. You know what I mean? It's.
I will tell you though, and I'm going to get a little speculative. Like, I mean, you're right. Like, you expect, like, especially around this E3 time, that if Microsoft is going to play their hand, you expect Sony and Nintendo and everybody to kind of follow suit, because they all need to kind of lay out their game plan, so people, gamers can kind of pick which side they want to be on. And although this seems like a small, like very focused direct, or not Direct. I'm sorry, I'm thinking Nintendo State of Play. I am one like I don't know, and this might be overly reaching as far as a concern, but why aren't they showing anything from God of War right now? Like, if God of War is supposed to release, into this year, this would be a great time to show, especially right around the time that, Xbox is coming out. They don't have their big title anymore with Starfield, so who know how well their showcase is going to go.
Yeah, it's a
If
perfect
Sony
time to show some God of War.
show something big. Like, be like, oh yeah, well, Xbox doesn't have anything, but you know who does have something? PlayStation. And then bam, here's God of War. Like, and here's the thing, that is definitely within Sony's, bag of tricks. We remember back when Xbox One came out and how bad they punished them for their used games. And
this is how you trade games.
Yeah, so it's not like you can't put this past them.
Oops.
So I guess what I'm getting at is the fact that doesn't seem like they're doing that, unless they surprise us, which once again we shouldn't expect that because they're setting expectations. Does that give you any concern about the state that God of War may not actually come out this year? Because that's the big thing. Everybody's like, I don't think that's really going to happen. So
I'm going to make a prediction. I do think God of War is going to get shown at this. I think it's going to be the only first-party thing that happens. I think, for the most part, it's going to be a really underwhelming show. Everyone's going to be disappointed. And then at the end, even if it wasn't planned, I feel like they have to. I feel like they have to, just be like, okay, what do you have, ask their dev, what do you have, and just throw something out there at the end, you know what I mean? I feel like they have to capitalize on.
I don't think they're going to.
Really?
I think they're going to, although, I agree it's probably what I would think they should do.
Do you think God of War is going to get its own event or its own state of play, where it's like, this state of play is just 30 minutes of God of War?
I think it's going to get delayed.
Really?
Personally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now that there's no pressure?
Here's the thing, everything's getting delayed right now. The industry is still recovering from COVID. It's not like God of War was a small endeavor. And here's the thing, with that game, it's got to come out strong, just like how Starfield has to come out strong. I mean, the fact that we haven't seen anything of that game yet, I find concerning. I can't remember how long when the last God of War came out, how long before its release date did they show stuff about it, but I feel like it was by E3 time of that year, if not earlier. So this is kind of the time, and I don't think with the way they're kind of posing this state of play, they are going to have that big reveal on this state of play. Like, I know we were just talking about, it'd be nice to see that, surprise. I really don't think they're going to. They haven't done it in the past.
Here's an interesting idea. I think I know where you're gonna dispute it, but do you think the idea that there is no big major event where everyone has to rush to get everything, or to get presentations and to get everything set up for, do you think that has less incentivized getting these games, shown and getting them you know what I mean? Now that there's no true E3, there's no big event, whereas people before there was rushing, there was crunching to get footage and gameplay presentations. Do you think that has any effect on any of that?
Maybe
people are more inclined to push stuff back.
Yeah, I think here's part of it. I'm hoping this. Honestly, I kind of hope this is the case. When Cyberpunk landed, I think that set a really big kind of premise on how customers are going to react to an unfinished, buggy game. Right?
That's true. Yeah. I can see that.
And I think in the past, if something like that hadn't happened, these companies would be a little more willing to kind of push their luck and be like, well, we'll, let it come out a little early. We'll have some issues, but, the fans are going to be fine with it. They'll deal with it. But I think after seeing something like Cyberpunk crash and burn, and there was another big one that, something very similar. I can't recall now.
I remember No Man's Sky was kind of like that.
Yeah, that was prior. But I guess my point is, none of these companies want to be the next
maybe?
Cyberpunk.
No,
I
that's
think it's more recent than that. Regardless, it doesn't really matter. I mean, Cyberpunk's a prime example. Sony does not want the next God of War to be the next Cyberpunk. Maybe I don't know. That's beside the point. We don't need to go back.
Oh yeah.
Well, and same thing with Bethesda and Microsoft. They don't want Starfield, especially a new IP like that, to crash and burn. So I know it sounds really disappointing, and they're taking a hit to a certain extent by pushing it off. I mean, there's a lot of money that goes into marketing and setting a game to come out at a certain time, so they're taking a hit by pushing it off. But I think they all just want to be as safe as possible. And I would, as I said, the fact that we're not potentially seeing God of War now, what is this, 6 months out from when it would be released?
Pretty much, yeah.
Makes me think they're probably going to push it back. Well, I don't have any inside information. I'm a nobody as far as that's concerned. But from just reading and looking at the landscape of other people who do have some insight, a lot of them are also feeling that way. So it's not like this seems like some big stretch of the imagination. Would it be great to see God of War? Yes. Will we see it? I'm not so confident. So I think the fact that they're playing or setting this up to be such kind of a small scale state of play kind of, I think, validates that to a certain extent. But
you know what may, oh God, I'm bringing up another idea, but like, what really would help an event like Xbox's event or their showcase, and something that might kind of hurt some events that Sony would want to put up that are solely about their titles, is it really helps that game, having that Game Pass where like you don't necessarily have to put out a first party reveal, or you can put out some, but like you can put out like third party catches that you get that are like titles that are just coming to Xbox, and you can turn that into its own like announcement and fill in some space there. Like, I don't know, like randomly months from now when they have another Xbox event, they're just like, oh, we can do a little reveal, Ghostwire Tokyo is coming to Xbox, even though everyone knows it. You know what I mean? Like, like I mean, I don't know. Maybe because have they launched their subscription service yet?
Like, I think today, right? It wasn't like, I think it's, I don't know. It was either today or like the next couple of days. It was this month, to my knowledge.
Well, so maybe maybe that's not as prevalent, but maybe in the future. But you know what I mean? Like you can like advertise those third party grabs that are like fresh and new, and you can turn those into like announcements and stuff like that, and you can fill in some room, some space into like an event.
I'm sure you've seen the kind of the articles and the premise, and I'm not sure how much I agree with this, but like the Game Pass fatigue, like once Redfall and Starfield was announced.
I think I passed by it and didn't put any mind to it. I think Kotaku did that.
Yeah, and I saw it kind of echoed in a few other places. I guess here's the thing. It really depends on how you have already subscribed to Game Pass. Like, if you're someone who is paying monthly for Game Pass right now, and you're not someone who is real big on looking at all the third-party indie kind of stuff, then the fact they delayed those games, it makes sense that you would want to go ahead and drop your subscription for a while. You just pick it back up when the games come out. But I think for a lot of people, like myself included, I bought in when like they had those deals where you can get like 3 years for like $1 extra or something. So I'm in for the long haul. So
try doing that with Sony. Have you heard about what they've been doing?
Oh yeah, prorating stuff. Yeah. See, Sony gets like, I don't want to say greedy because that's probably the wrong word. It's in their rights to do so, but it just comes across kind of.
I actually don't know the specifics, but I briefly read that like they're like not letting people stack, or they're like removing the stacking, and it's just like
Yeah. Anyway, I guess where I was going with this to a certain extent, beyond just, depending how you're signed up for something like Game Pass or whatever, your kind of motivation to stick with it or not, you're right. The fact that Microsoft could just get a third party and drop it will help, I think, fill some of the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
And Microsoft is still, although I know people will argue one way or the other, they're still in a better spot to take a hit if they needed to. Like, if they needed to drop a lot of money to get exclusive, a lot of people are thinking, like, what if they got Gotham Knights, which is, a relatively big, AAA third-party game. If they grabbed that and was able to get that on Game Pass towards the fall, that would be something to get a few people that, Sony wouldn't have. So I don't know if they'll go that route. I personally am still a fan of how Game Pass is set up.
I am
the
too.
Sony one, I'm not sure on yet. Did we talk about the Sony lineup a few weeks ago? I can't remember when we talked about it last, or if we talked about it.
You mean of their first party lineup that they have slated?
Yeah, like for the subscription service they're doing.
I honestly, other than the one topic we did on it, I haven't really paid attention much of what they've got going on now.
Well, I don't know.
It doesn't help that I don't have a PS5, so it's like, if I had a PS5, I'd probably much closer follow what exactly they're doing. I think I read, the only thing I've really read is I heard people are really ticked off at the PS1.
The
PS1 classic emulation. Apparently, it's like they're not
HAL, so it has a
like a box.
Well, it runs at a different refresh rate instead of like what is it, like 50 as opposed to 60 or something. It's PAL instead of NTST or NTSC. I'm sorry.
That just
So
means
basically,
it's
it runs
Euro, not American. Isn't that the difference?
Yeah, I mean PAL's not all Euro, but basically it runs crappier. That I'll just leave it at that. So yeah, that's crappy.
But apparently people are upset with the games offered for PS1 too. There's like, I don't know.
There's not a lot. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty weak,
meager.
personally. Yeah, for the PS1 classics, like nothing on there jumped out like, man, I really need to sign up this extra tier to get those 8 or 9 games.
That would be a big deal for me, man.
Crappier.
You know, I may seem like a young man, but I consider myself an old fart at this point. Hey, man, PS1 games are like a big deal for me. Like that PS1 was like a major time of my life, like that catalog. So like, you know, if it's a meager offering and there are games in there that I like that wouldn't be in there, that would be a big deal for someone like me, you know.
Yeah.
But I wasn't big on PS3, so if there was good stuff missing from there, I wouldn't have noticed. But sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I agree. Like for me, the PS1, PS2 kind of classic stuff would have been the reason I would have signed up.
Yes.
I think that's the issue with the way they've set up this PlayStation subscription. The value of it to you is really going to depend on how much you've already invested in PlayStation. Like, here's the thing: if you have owned a PS4, odds are you already own their big titles.
Yeah.
You've got The Last of Us, you've got the Uncharted and the God of Wars. So yeah, they're giving you all these games, but you've already got them. So a big reason for getting it is now kind of ripped away from you if you've already been investing in the Sony game catalog. Yeah, it's got some good third-party stuff on there, but to an extent, I mean, that's now a lot that's on Game Pass or similar. So I'm not sure if I don't know. It's not as a one-to-one comparison as it used to be. And the same thing for like PS3. It's a lot of like the big titles on PS3, the Infamous and something else. Once again, if you've been a PlayStation fan forever long, you probably already have those games. So I don't know. I feel like the only way they could have captured me, who's someone who has invested in their a recent game catalog, is to give me a lot of older PS1, PS2 stuff. Like that, I would have seen some value in. As it sits right now, it's good for people who haven't bought a lot of PlayStation games in the past, but I don't know.
It's still perfect if you just bought a PS5 and you have no catalog. Then it's like, oh well, yeah, of course. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, then it's cool. But either way, I think we're getting off topic a little bit.
But
I don't know. I mean, yeah. I'm sorry.
No, I'll swing us back on course. So as for the state of play, I mean, knowing that it's just VR, and knowing that it's just third-party games, I mean, it'd be tough. I mean, what off the top of your head would you want or expect to see at this? I mean,
I'm curious about the PS VR 2.
The VR 2?
Yeah, I don't have the first PlayStation VR. I mean, but I really do enjoy virtual reality stuff in general. Like I like my Oculus. I like where they're going with this kind of genre. So I'd be curious to see if.
What about like a Resident Evil 5 VR? I know they did 4. Would you want to punch boulders in VR?
Maybe not 5. Although I actually like 5, but I'm a weirdo.
We played 5. We did I think we co-op campaigned it many years ago.
Back in the day.
And you had bazookas and I had freaking pistols.
Yeah, it was a good time. Like I said, I'm pseudo interested in the VR stuff. I don't know how much of the tech they'll really show, but I'm always curious to see kind of how far they're moving with that. But that'd be about it. I don't really care too much about necessarily what the third-party stuff is. When they say third-party partners, are they necessarily talking about exclusive stuff? Not necessarily. I mean, maybe.
It just says from Sony's third-party partners.
Yeah, so that could be any number of things there. I mean, there might be some good stuff there, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's even PlayStation exclusive. At least the way I'm reading
speculate or something. Yeah. I'm
know.
Trying to think of, like, to be honest, I would just want to see like old titles come back. Like, maybe if they could find a way to strike a deal with EA for like, I don't know what SSX, a new SSX or something weird. And maybe
that'd be interesting.
You know, like I don't know. I don't know what I'd even expect to see. But yeah, I feel like we don't have much to say on this one, huh? I mean, well, other than we did kind of go on.
We had a lot of peripheral stuff to talk about, but not so much about the state of play.
Yeah.
I said I am not expecting a whole lot from this. I mean, I'll watch it and hopefully gauge my expectations accordingly. I think people are going to be disappointed one way or the other about it, and I do feel like somehow this, I think lighter showing, especially around this time, might allude to some, I don't know, God of War issues. But we'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I want to play God of War this year. That'd be great, especially since the other stuff isn't coming out.
Even though I'm not expecting much, I'm still like crazy excited to see anything. Again, like I'm so starved for like E3 oriented type coverage, even if it's just a lowly, you know, anything to talk about games. Like I'm all for. So I'm, you know, more than excited to at least see what exactly they have. Like again, I'm starved for, you know, it sucks having started a YouTube channel and then like a couple years, like right off the bat, E3 starts like getting canceled. It's like, well, I never even got to cover any E3 coverage this whole time I've had a YouTube channel. I don't know.
Oh, poor Chad.
No. But yeah, actually, me and Phoenix were talking about it, and since this is going to be on at 6 p.m. next Thursday, we record on Thursday, so I think if Phoenix doesn't get the chance to watch it right off the bat, we can either like blast through it or kind of skim it, or either way, we're at least going to talk about what was shown or anything we cared about. But yeah, what do you think about that, Phoenix? Sound good?
We can talk about how wrong we are about everything we're talking about tonight.
We can talk about how good God of War looks and their other 5 first-party games they show.
Yep, and their 300 PS1 games that they release. It's going to be great.
Yeah. I guess another update, so I guess that'll be one topic for next week. We'll talk about that. Sorry, strange hiccup. We'll talk about that, and then I do definitely next week we're going to be doing a predictions or, you know, some sort of overall just what do we think is going to happen during the Xbox event, which that happens, what's that? I think it's the 12th or the 14th, somewhere in that range.
I'll take your word for it. I didn't check.
Yeah, it's somewhere around that range, so I definitely wanted to do that. We can kind of, I don't know, talk about where Xbox is going, talk about what they have to show now that, you know, I don't think they have the gall to show any more footage of Starfield and Redfall now that those are getting pushed back.
I almost feel like they should.
Really?
Like, we could talk about it next week, but I mean, here's the thing: just because they're being delayed doesn't mean there's nothing to show for that game. I mean, granted, they needs to be very carefully selected so it doesn't, you know, misinterpret the game. I guess that could be a concern, but I think it would almost feel better if I could see the game get some hype going.
I would appreciate
the hype
it.
now has dropped off completely. Because here's the thing: no one really even knows what Starfield is yet. We know it's a, you know, Bethesda open world space RPG thing, but that could be anything.
I still would like to know whose decision. Was that more of a Bethesda? I'm assuming it has to be Bethesda because I feel like Xbox has been nothing but, you know, like pleasant with them saying they're giving them leeway and allowing them to do their own thing. So I'm assuming that was a Bethesda thing, you know.
Oh, and that's the other game I said was failing, or I was thinking was failing. Fallout 76, that and Cyberpunk. Those are the two.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I guess that's even more so I think why Bethesda in particular doesn't want to crash and burn again, because they literally
their own
did
game.
with their last big release.
That makes sense. I forgot that game existed, so I think that's why.
Yeah, and wasn't it? I don't know if you saw this. I didn't check on who it came from or whatnot, but apparently there was some report from someone who had the inside scoop on some of the developers working on Starfield, and they were discussing internally, like, just making mention, like, they were worried about this being the next Cyberpunk or something like that. And I have no idea how true that is. I might be completely off guard, or off track. So if I am, I apologize, but I feel like I read that somewhere, but I'll drop it.
Don't be starting rumors. You can't be sending all. It's my channel. You're gonna send all that hate towards me.
Good.
People are gonna be mean to me in the chat now, in the comments.
All 2 of them.
Funny. All right.
All right.
Yeah, but guys, so you can expect that. There is also 2 other things that quickly I wanted to mention before we move on.
Hopefully. These are supposed to be the quick topic, by the way, guys.
I know.
Spent an hour and a half on them, so
I can't help it. I can't help it. You enjoy my company so much. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So we do have 2 new TV shows that are literally launching, like, what, today? I haven't gotten the chance to watch them, but we have Obi-Wan, which is on Disney Plus, and we also have Stranger Things Season 4, which is on Netflix. Me and Phoenix can talk about it real quick right here, but I kind of wanted to at least cover one of these on the channel. We can do both, but I at least wanted to cover one. I preferred to cover Obi-Wan. I don't know if you were open to cover either, or, you know, what did you think?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, I plan on watching both. So
I do too. Yeah.
We'll see if we can watch both, and we can try to talk about both. I am more excited to see Obi-Wan. Granted, I mean, I know everybody's kind of, down on the Star Wars, trend as of late with
Which
some
is
of Disney
me.
stuff.
Which is totally me.
Yeah.
But
I'll tell you, one of the few things I really liked about the prequels was
Ewan McGregor. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, he was one of the few consistent things about all those. I was like, he lands pretty well for me. And I don't know if I'm a big fan of Ewan McGregor in particular, but as far as his portrayal of Obi-Wan, I enjoyed it. So, and I know we're getting some more Hayden Christensen.
I was just going to say, I'm excited to see more Annie. So,
yeah. I think that would be fun. It might be terrible. I don't know. But it's going to be at least fun to talk about and break down.
I'll be honest, I have not seen a thing of any of these external Star Wars TV shows. I haven't seen anything Mandalorian. I haven't seen any of this other stuff. So I'm kind of excited to kind of like dip my toes in and see what Disney Plus has had going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I watched both seasons of The Mandalorian. First, I thought, and I'll quick on this, I liked the first one. Second one was a little meandering. I tried to watch like the first episode of
Boba Fett. Yeah, I was just gonna say.
That one just did not hit right for me at all. And from what I understand, if you watch the rest of the season, it ends up being Mandalorian 2.5 essentially. Which, I mean, if you like the Mandalorian, it might be nice to get that, but I didn't care.
There's no way he got out of that Sarlacc pit. There's no way you can.
They explain how
you cannot.
He did it,
I refuse. I refuse to watch and listen to their explanation. He should have died in there.
No, the show, over the bit I saw, did not help to redeem his character by any means.
Yeah.
But
he wasn't much of a character. Come on. I mean,
it's
like you give a Boba Fett his own TV show, and he was like.
I think what made Boba Fett work at least a little bit back in the day was that
he was mysterious.
Mysterious.
Yes.
So they already started to break that down a little bit with the prequel trilogy and all the clones and Jango and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the way they kind of approached it from this new show, I just feel like was going all the wrong direction.
It totally reminds me of like the Robot Chicken skit where they gave what was it? What's his name? The blue creature from Boba's thing had his own like music CD, and
Max Rebo,
and it's like dude, I don't need to know that Max Rebo is like a musical artist. He's just some blue guy in the background singing on a mic.
But that added a lot to the lore for me.
You get what I'm saying, though. Like, I don't need to know any of that about Max Rebo. Like, I don't. Boba Fett is Boba Fett. He was just some guy who got launched into a Sarlacc pit. That was it.
No, I agree. But I think Obi-Wan, at least the way they're setting up the show, there's a story there that I mean, maybe in the books the old canon before they threw it out, maybe that explored it. I don't really know. But I mean, from a theatrical standpoint, I'm curious to see those years between when Obi-Wan dropped off Luke to when Luke found him out in the desert. Like, I think that'll be a cool little venture to kind of dig into. So I'm like I said, I'm excited. That's probably the wrong word, but I don't know. I don't know what I am, but I do want to see it.
All right. So yeah, again, sounds like Phoenix is totally down to at least do Obi-Wan. I kind of also want to do Stranger Things. Honestly, if you don't want to do it, I'll probably do that on my channel. I'll do like separate video, but we can do it. We can talk about it on the thing as well. Stranger Things, I'm a bit more dicey on. Like I liked seasons 1 and 2. I wasn't a big fan of 3. I'm at least curious to see how this season goes. Like, I don't have anything to watch, so other than Obi-Wan, so I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, every season my interest in Stranger Things drops. Like, I really like the atmosphere and like the tone they go for, like I always have. And that's what caught a lot of people in the first place. But I don't know. It feels like it's been dragging for a while now. Like, where's it going? What's it doing? I'm not sure if season 4 is really gonna, pan out for me in that regard, but we'll see. You did see that they're releasing it in like 2 different I don't know
series.
Like,
it's like series 1 or volume. Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, so there'll be a little bit of a break in between, which might be good actually for the show. I know a lot of people are upset about it, but that's one thing about these Netflix shows is or in the past, they give you all the episodes right up front, which is nice from a consumer perspective because you can just binge them and watch them all, but you don't really get a lot of time to kind of think about it, talk about it, critique it, and have some little like, oh, what's going to happen?
I've got to make more videos, man. Come on, you can't.
Exactly, content creation. So
And
honestly, breaking it up into volumes might be good for them.
And honestly, like, that was super beneficial, I felt like, for Game of Thrones when it was good, because it was like, man, Game of Thrones episode would hit, and then it was like that whole week everyone would talk about that one episode, and like when it was good, man, those were like, those were really good like conversations.
Bad, like that got just as much publicity because everybody's talking about how bad it is.
Mm-hmm.
So stretching it out, I think, is honestly a good decision for them, especially when Netflix is
that whole week of the Red Wedding. What was everyone talking about? Yeah. But yeah, so I guess just one other thing, a quick thing I just wanted to bring up super quick. It is Memorial Day weekend, so I have an extra day off on Monday. I was kind of curious, like, I think I noticed on my channel I play nothing but modern. I feel like for maybe my Memorial Day weekend, my Memorial Day celebration, I think I'm going to stream something retro. I'm not quite sure though what I want to play. Do you have any suggestions?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of something Memorial Day-y, but I don't know.
I mean, it would be like war related, but I don't know if that's.
Oh, you could try to go through World at War on Veteran.
No, I'm not doing that. I would love to play World at War actually though. I'm not playing it on Veteran.
I don't know. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything, but I mean that's cool. Do your thing, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt like it might be kind of fun. What do you got going on? Just hanging out with the family?
Well, I can't remember. I don't even know what's on the docket for Monday. I know we got some graduations we're attending this weekend, so my weekend is quite booked. But yeah, I don't know about Monday. Honestly, I'll probably just sleep. I need to recuperate.
Nowadays, sleeping is the perfect. Like I just having Monday off. Like I'm not doing anything this whole weekend. I'm just gonna chill, relax, and play some golf on Sundays. That's it. Work on some videos. All right, so yeah, that kind of set.
The quick topics are out of the way.
The quick topics almost an hour in. We can treat these other two ones like those as well, man. Honestly, I mean, we did kind of mention it before we started talking that like I don't think there's really a heck of a whole lot. I mean, there's some kind of interest here, but going right into it, I guess our very first supposedly major topic, let me move over, is kind of just announced this week that the unionization efforts within Raven Software have officially been voted on. Now, to be honest, this isn't something I know a heck of a whole lot about. It's something I've like briefly kind of kept my eyes on, but apparently from what I understand, this whole unionization essentially allows them to be able to kind of negotiate on their contracts that are set up with I think it even says right here of I guess just with the company itself, right? It just helps with negotiations with certain contracts.
Yeah, they can set like terms as far as like working conditions and policies that need to be in place. To a certain extent, things like compensation. But it's a way to protect the employees. Like if they get fired for no good reason, which I think is what kind of stemmed this whole thing with the Raven stuff. It was a bunch of QA testers or something just got let go after some big release for no good reason or something like that. So I didn't go into all the details, but there were a lot of firings, which spurred the remainder or some of the team to be like, you know what, we need to not let this happen again. So they worked together to form this union, and I think it's a good thing, especially for this industry. Like, people have different opinions on unions in general. They can be good in a lot of cases. They can be bad in some. But having, a group of people or an organization or entity to
having representation that supposedly has your best wishes, or...
Yeah. I mean, at my work, there's a union, and for the most part, it's beneficial. I mean, there are certainly times when it can slow down process, especially like new contracts are coming around and stuff like that. There's definitely some conflict there sometimes, but I would say overall it's been a benefit. And I'm sure that's going to be the same case here. And I think what the most exciting thing is now they've set this premise, you'll hopefully see more or larger entities like this start kind of spreading throughout the game industry. Not that it's going to be an easy thing, because these game companies probably don't want it. They want to have control over who they let go, how they let them go, compensation, blah 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 blah. So,
well, you already answered one of my questions. Was I don't know. I was kind of curious how beneficial or good do you think this is for the industry as a whole? But yeah, I mean, I agree. I do think it's overall is beneficial. Sorry, good.
I don't have a huge opinion on this. Just in general, I think this is good. But you look at, the way the gaming industry is and how volatile some of these job positions are. And part of it's just the nature of, making a game. You work on something for so long, it gets released, and then after kind of the, maintenance phase starts to wind down, it makes sense that a company is going to downsize if they can't shift you somewhere else and let people go. But that doesn't mean that's a favorable position that these developers want to be in. They want to make sure they've got a job long term. And sometimes even when it's not like an expected termination, they just drop you sometimes for no apparent reason because they want to cut funds. Was it EA or Activision who just cut? I think it was EA. They just dropped a whole set of more employees. It was like 200 people or something. While their CEO is making like some crazy, like what, $50 million or something, and like bonuses and whatnot. They're like, it's a crappy situation. And I'm not trying to, argue against how much money CEOs should make necessarily, but what do you think 200 people lost their livelihood because of that, and the union might protected it?
Random thought. You don't have to go into specifics about your job, of course, but so you said your job has a union, and so they would get involved representation-wise if you felt like you were unlawfully or not given a good reason as far as being let go?
Yeah, if I was laid off and I felt like...
I was just my idea was, isn't Florida a right-to-work state? So doesn't technically every private... Or no... Okay, I think I get where... Okay, I won't say why.
Okay.
Well, because I think it's for a private company, but... Your job isn't a private company, so
it varies a lot.
I think I answered it in my head, kind of. I get why.
If something happened where I felt like I was wrongfully terminated, I could go to the union and be like, hey, and as long as it was within, our contracts or whatnot, I'd have some backup, which would be nice.
So that whole right to work thing is only, that only gives power to, like, private companies that, aren't... I get it. Okay. Kind of.
Good. Yeah.
Again, I'm trying not to give away too much of your, like...
I appreciate it. And I don't know all the specifics of everything. I mean,
why not?
Even my own, it changes a lot as far as policies and whatnot. But in the end, I feel like there's protection there.
Yeah.
And that's what this is just setting it up for them to have, is to have some level of protection for this industry that will hopefully to set a premise for future. It sounds like, I mean, we saw this as they were kind of going through this, and other news articles that came out over the past year, like Activision. I'm sorry, they might as well both be the same thing at this point.
Same thing
Activision was, they were fighting hard against this happening. They were doing a bunch of union busting tactics, trying to like separate the group up into like different teams where they couldn't communicate well and all this other nonsense. So I'm glad to see that they held strong and they're getting what they feel like they need to have to, feel safe in their work environment.
Something we're going to talk about as well. EA saw that Activision's having all this trouble, and they just decided to sell themselves. And it's like EA had the same idea. They're like, hey, maybe brush our hands off if we just get ourselves bought. I don't know.
Whoa.
I'm just joking.
We
can save that. Gears? No, we'll save that. Or unless you don't want to lose your idea.
No, I have no idea. I mean, I'm pretty much done with this. I'm glad to see this finally happen. Will it end up being, a perfect situation? Probably not. I mean, this is a brand new thing. They have a long road ahead of themselves to kind of set things up and figure out how to keep this running smoothly, because they still have to now go through negotiations and stuff in the future with what sounds like a pretty aggressive negotiation environment with these particular stakeholders and administrators and whatnot. So we'll see how that pans out.
I guess kind of just my last little idea, just not idea, but my last little thing just to throw on there is, I think just today or yesterday, Phil Spencer actually, I don't know, I don't see why it was a big deal, but like he kind of came out and said, yes, we will respect or recognize their whole, which I mean, he kind of, I don't see how he had any choice to say but that, but I mean, it is still like a good thing.
Push back, because like See, I don't know all the logistics of creating a union and how it works, but especially for something like this that is so specific, it sounds like to Activision. It doesn't seem like this is a. I mean, maybe I'm missing some stuff. It doesn't seem like this spreads beyond just having a union within Activision Blizzard. So when Microsoft takes over, changing of the guard kind of thing, there could have been some issues with it. But I'm glad to see that Phil Spencer seems like he's taking the right approach. And respecting it.
No, fair enough. All right, so sorry, I don't know if you still had your idea in your head, but we'll move straight on into, since I mentioned it, recently EA has apparently they've been doing some window shopping, and let's move over. Essentially EA has been looking to either sell its itself or to merge with other companies. Shoot, I don't even know where to go from here. But I don't know. Did you want to finish your idea actually previously that you had?
It's gone. So, why don't you go ahead and talk about this one first, and I'll kind of build up on what you say, because I'm curious what your opinion is on what this is, what this means, etc.
To be honest, I'm not even quite sure where to go with this. I mean, it's. I mean, EA, as far as I know, is a company that's never been low on revenue, or they're not exactly they're
not doing bad right now.
Moribund. So it's I don't quite understand the decision. Is it just? I mean, I'm guessing it's just money. They've. I mean, everyone kind of considers them one of the worst companies in the world or in the country. Yeah. So I'm assuming it's mainly they just want a bunch of money up front and they're willing to just sell whatever they have. I'm guessing. I don't know.
So here's the thing.
Let me actually start reading this. I haven't actually read this one, so go ahead.
Yeah, and if you read into it, here's the thing. This is not the same kind of situation. It doesn't sound like with, Microsoft buying Activision. Mm-hmm. When they say sell, they're not trying to just it doesn't seem like, take a whole bunch of money, drop their IP in someone's lap, and then run away with all the money. For the most, because even if you read this, it sounds more like they're leaning towards merger side, because they want to leave what's his name, Andrew Wilson.
Yeah,
Andrew Wilson.
Just call him Andrew Ryan. That's Bioshock people out there. You got that reference. Okay.
Yes. But
you almost said Andrew Ryan. I think.
I was going there. But I guess my point is this isn't the same kind of situation. They're not hurting for funds. It doesn't seem like. I mean, they've had, some stinkers in the game department, Battlefield 2042, whatever it is, standing. But it seems like they're really wanting to, I think, it is a money thing. But there's two sides to this coin. It's good for a lot of these other partners are looking at, especially because they're looking at particularly merging with stuff like, television production companies like NBC.
Yeah, I was going to say, I had this article about NBC.
And there's like Disney and Apple. Basically companies that don't typically have a video game department or division. Because here's the thing, video games are huge. No matter how you look at it, it is one of the biggest mediums out there, and a lot of these other, more traditional formats of medium and entertainment, like your television companies and other theatrical production houses, they don't have a good tie in to the video game market the same way. They have to go, take their IP, hire out a developer, and go through all that kind of stuff. So this is good from their perspective because they basically get an arm added onto their media division that can now do video games directly. So if NBC and what NBC is also like Comcast and Universal, is that correct? I think it's
all those guys pretty sure.
So now they could take all that IP and basically just make games out of it if they wanted to, without having to go contract anything out. They can just utilize EA's resources to make their IPs more franchisable or marketable or whatever they want to look at it. So that's a benefit from there. The other thing about EA, I think, being willing to sell or merge or what have you is they're looking at it too, because they've been in the business now for so long, and they have seen, especially firsthand with games like Battlefield 2042, games have huge ballooning budgets and you can lose a lot of money if you're not careful. So I think kind of merging with these larger production houses kind of puts an umbrella over them a little bit.
I think just off the top of my head as well, I think I read that that they essentially lost the license for one of their largest video game generator revenues, which is actually the FIFA license.
Yes.
And I believe they're now, that whole pie is going to get spread now because it's like other companies can like gain that IP to make games. So now this competition, whereas before they had a monopoly, they were like, well, no, I guess there were other FIFA games.
There were other football games.
Soccer, yeah.
Football,
yeah.
I don't think this is going to hurt them that much. Like, did you see I don't know if there were tweets or posts that came out when this thing was initially announced? Like, EA's like, yeah, we're not going to use FIFA, but we're still going to go make, the best games we can, with, a football as kind of the focus. And then the actual FIFA owner, whoever he was like, no, we're still you rest assured that the only football game that's going to be of, the best quality is going to be the one with a FIFA name. Like, he came up really arrogant about it because you could tell he was kind of, teed off that EA didn't give him any more money. But here's the thing.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it comes across, though, pretty naive because you have this guy who he's a soccer owner. Like, he owns the FIFA franchise, but I can't imagine this guy knows the first thing about making a video game. And as we've seen, it is not an easy thing to do. So it's not like he's going to turn around, find some developer that already has, the technology and the experience to make a high quality soccer game and have it ready to release within the next, 6 to 8 months to match their current timeline. Whereas all EA has to do
is
2
keep
months?
Is
it 2 months?
I'm
However
kidding.
long it is.
I'm kidding, because those games are copy and paste.
My point being, there's nothing to copy and paste from now.
Yes. Okay, I see. Yeah, okay.
So they'd have to have a new developer to create this brand new football game. We just saw Konami try to do this with that eFootball game, and it was terrible from all intents and purposes.
But didn't eFootball? There was another soccer franchise. I don't remember. It's
there was like PES,
Pro Evolution. Yeah, PES.
Pro
Okay,
Evolution,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there were a few others. So I mean, they could try to get some of those developers, but here's the thing: most people agree. Well, from what I understand, I'm not a big soccer fan, so I can't really.
I'm not either. I'm letting you kind of go on. I don't know anything.
And I'm just going this from like a periphery, kind of looking from the outside in, not being a fan of it or playing these games. But from what I can tell from most of the fan reactions, the FIFA games have still been relatively high quality. The ones coming from EA.
The last few years, though. They've been really panned. I remember there was a big deal with I feel like they actually saw some lawsuits as to
Boxy stuff,
their port onto the Switch. I remember there were some like really big issues with I feel like it's the same thing with some of the Madden stuff. People were really mad. I think I remember it was a big deal because IGN gave their review for 2001 or 2002, whatever one of the new soccer games. They gave it a 1 or a 2. Which is like when IGN gives your game like a big game like that, like a 1 or a 2. I remember it was a big deal because people were like, "Oh wow, good on you, IGN." But it was one of those things where like they would watch their highlights of plays that would happen while playing the game, and you could see like the game they made. They were playing was FIFA 2001, and like on the bleachers and the rafters you could see the logo for like 2020 or something.
That's crappy.
Yeah, so it's like.
Well, I don't know the specifics of how these games have panned out over the past few years. I guess my point here to kind of pull back is EA has experienced developers that make these football games. Like you could argue the quality one year or the other may be better or worse, but the point is they could turn around, make essentially the same high-ish quality soccer game that they've made for the past 20 years and just give it a new name, and it'll probably still be a better game than whatever FIFA is now going to turn into. So they are losing brand recognition, which I'm not saying that's not going to hurt them. I mean, if you get some grandma that goes in to pick up the next soccer game and the kid's just like, I want FIFA, they may not know and grab the new crappy one.
Like you said, no matter how crappy the company is, I mean, it still is beneficial, the infrastructure that they have.
And that's what I'm getting at. Like this first year might be a little shaky, but here's the thing: as soon as this actually transitions and there is a new FIFA game with some new developer, unless it does somehow knock the socks off whatever EA is going to do, that's going to set the premise then for every following year. People will realize, oh, so FIFA isn't the good game anymore, and they'll go for whatever EA is putting out potentially. So and maybe I'm reaching a little bit. So I do not play the game, so I can't speak directly to the quality of them. Maybe they've all just been going downhill in general, and then this is kind of a moot point. But I feel like that will eventually be the way this plays out. I'm sorry, I'll say it's the last thing I'll let you do it.
No, good.
Or I think the guy who's in charge of FIFA is going to try or attempt to go this route, realize how difficult and expensive it is to make a game, and just not do it. And then EA, once he kind of left, the only game in town, essentially, as far as having a football game.
I hate to say it, but in my opinion, if I'm other companies that are looking to purchase and acquire, I don't see the... Like, I do think you could easily make your money up with purchasing a company like EA, but like, I personally, at least I know I'm not the average consumer. I'm like, we're diehard. We're all about this kind of stuff. But I just don't think that EA brings much to the table currently at the moment. Because again, they don't have they're not the only one with the FIFA license. They have, all of a sudden now Star Wars is now open to any company, pretty much making Star Wars games. So they don't just Star Wars, they're not the only ones that have the Star Wars games. And
don't disagree.
And Battlefield is kind of hanging low, and it's just like...
These are not the only IP, though, under EA. Like, EA has a lot of backlogs
historical,
of IP and franchises that if there's a developer who really is interested in digging into that back catalog, there's a lot of value there. There's a lot of name recognition if they really dug in. I mean, you even got stuff like Dead Space. I mean, that's something that's coming out pretty soon.
I love Dead Space.
Yeah. And there's other stuff like that in their repertoire. Like, yes, the past few years they've been sports heavy and Battlefield, and you can look at that from a bunch of different directions.
But with Madden and Apex, though, games like that, you make up your money quick, though, if you bought EA. Like, you would make your money back.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't see like this is EA, though, just trying to dump their IP. They want to merge, so I think they get a safer umbrella. So, like, if a game does bomb, they're not the only ones left holding the bag. I think that's probably part of their fear. They're looking at just how rocky the video game landscape is right now.
It's
lots of money to make a game, high risk. You got talent that's moving around. That's hard to keep good talent involved. So if they are under a larger organization like NBC or something like that,
a lot of that is their fault, though. That like risky aspect, because every game they have has like some sort of microtransaction or have some sort of thing that's put into it that it could naturally tick off people at any moment's notice. So I'm just saying, like, I understand.
But EA is not the only one.
No. You're right. Yeah.
Plenty of big games come out, and it's a risk. It might do super well, and it's a big hit, and the company makes a lot of money, or it could flop. I mean, especially new IPs and stuff like that. So it is a risk one way or the other if you invest a lot of money in these games, which we've seen the ballooning budget. So I have a feeling that's more where EA's at. They're trying to find that so they can kind of, a safe space if something falls. They've got a larger company to kind of, take the brunt of it. And they still want to hold some control here. You see that they still want Andrew Wilson to still be CEO of whatever the merger video game company looks like. But I'm sure they're wanting some fat bonuses to come out of it. And there's probably some people involved that are looking for a way out. They're just wanting to get some cash in this deal, retire, and go do whatever they're going to do. I don't know. I feel like this will happen at some point. If not this NBC thing. I mean, it makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways for one of these big production houses who is interested in dipping their toes in the video game market. This might be a merger they might be willing to do if they can find a good price.
I know Microsoft wouldn't right now because they're all tied up. I don't believe they can. They can't really. I don't believe they can make a transaction right now, even if they wanted to, because of. Because of the whole I lost track. What did they just buy? Activision, yeah, they're all tied up with Activision. I believe that's.
This is less beneficial. No, I'm sorry. I know I'm cutting you off.
No.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna real quick. I was just gonna say that's why they didn't go in on Square Enix, I believe, because relatively Square Enix was a very cheap buy, and a lot of people were surprised Microsoft didn't go in, but they couldn't because of their funds. They literally cannot make another transaction even if they wanted to.
Tied up.
Yeah. So good.
I don't think EA is a good purchase for Microsoft. Like,
I agree.
man,
I don't think so.
I mean, I'm sure there's some back catalog there, stuff that, not saying it wouldn't be nice to have access to more IP, but they have a lot of IP now with Activision, all these other developers they have in-house. So IP, I think, is going to less be an issue over the next few years than it is right now. And honestly, I think this might be more of a monopoly concern if they grabbed EA too, because now you've got Battlefield and Call of Duty under one roof, and Apex Legends, and all, like, they now own like such a big, piece of these genres that I think would be a concern.
It would be an expensive buy for a company like Sony as well, because EA would not be a cheap acquisition. I mean, if Activision went for what, 70, I think it was like upwards of 70. I mean, EA would probably be not far behind that or more. Yeah,
and they'd be more. Yeah, or there'll be a lot. So
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think they're going to outright sell. I don't think this is a Microsoft buy, but I think both NBC and EA probably wanted this deal to work out. It sounds like they couldn't just agree on the price and maybe the structuring, but they both want something like this. Mm-hmm. So you can bet that there's other companies out there that might want something very, very similar. Or maybe NBC will revisit this deal. I don't know. And honestly, in a way, I kind of think that's neat. I mean, Universal NBC does have a lot of IP and franchises that, could work. I'm actually kind of curious. So, like NBC, Universal, I'm thinking from a theme park standpoint, you got Universal Studios. And I found it interesting because, like, say they want to bring, so Call of Duty and do a Call of Duty themed thing at Universal Studios, and they also now have Nintendo paired up with Universal. So now you're gonna have Call of Duty.
Universal makes really good VR rides.
Oh, not Call of Duty. I'm sorry, Battlefield. I'm sorry, I'm mentioning wrong.
I don't know. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was thinking. I don't know why I was thinking because you mentioned Call of Duty, but yeah, that would be a really cool the Spider-Man ride where it's all I don't know, maybe they could do a really cool virtual reality type thing. Battlefield, actually being a part of Battlefield or something,
or Dead Space theme thing.
Oh, yeah. I would love that.
See, so there's a lot of marketing potential there, and theming and franchising, all that kind of stuff.
Well, they can have a ride that is just you taking a part in microtransactions, where you just take out your wallet, and the whole aspect is, you just swipe your card here, and you just keep doing that like a bajillion times, and you build up points. I don't know. I'm full of ideas.
I saw a really funny comment. I don't remember where it was about this merger, and someone was like, "Oh, NBC decided to back out because they realized to actually own all the EA, they have to make 10 more purchases afterwards." So that would be pretty funny.
Yeah. To own EA, you must make 10 payments of I don't know, what are the old commercials they used to show on TV? Only 50 payments of $49.99. I don't know. All right, but anyway. Yeah, that's basically all we have to say. I mean, I at least all I have to say. Not speaking for you.
No, I'm good.
But yeah, if anything else pops up from this, of course, we'll talk about it. But I don't know, kind of interesting. All right, so we're gonna move on to our final two major topics. Even though we're an hour 20 in already. So I guess something I'm kind of dreading talking about is we're gonna. We'll talk about the final finale or the final whatever episodes, however long it's been since we talked Halo. But yeah, so last time we talked, we were up to episodes 5. So that means we haven't covered 6, 7, 8, or 9. Again, I don't know about you, Phoenix. We don't have to go super in depth into each episode. I don't know if you'd want to, but just I don't know. What were your kind of What did you think of the show, I guess, now that we know it's done?
Not my favorite. I think from everything we talked about, my opinion hasn't really changed. I think I've got a little more numb to my critiques on the show to a certain extent. My whole deal of this is not Master Chief, blah, 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 blah. And it's not, but I've been trying my best to just appreciate the show for what it is. It's been hard. I mean, if I can think of it as not a Halo show and just a sci-fi show, it's a little more palatable. But the problem is it's wearing Halo skin, so I don't know. It's hard.
I hate to say it, but or good. No, I'm cutting you off.
No, go ahead. My thoughts are all over the place.
I was just gonna say I felt like I was the more positive one at the very beginning talking about this show, and man, I really started to dislike it way more getting into the latter end. It doesn't help that like I very much there's some content creators I really like following, so like I will unfortunately I will watch a lot of their reviews and opinions on things before I even watch it, just because I like watching them and their opinions. You know what I mean? So maybe that swayed my opinion on some things, but like overall, I just don't find anything. I didn't find anything really entertaining about the last handful of episodes. I feel like the whole forgot her name, the whole Quan Ha episode. That was episode 7 or 8. I think it was 7. Actually, I have it. Episode 7. Yes, episode 7 was. For me, it felt like a waste of an hour of my life. I just don't know. I just don't think that the show, in my opinion, brought anything interesting to the table in terms of Halo.
Okay. I don't know. Go ahead. I'll finish your thought, and then I'll jump.
No, it's just again the characters that are introduced here. I don't think were riveting or interesting. I didn't like Maki. I didn't like Quan Ha. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know. What's your opinion? Go ahead.
I'm probably.
I feel like our opinions are both like all over the place for this show.
Because I mean, I didn't watch a lot of other reviewers on this. I mean, I feel my thoughts are similar. Just in passing glances, like little tweets I've seen. But let me try to pull some good out of this, because I mean, otherwise it'll be negative the entire time. Things I liked. The last couple of fight scenes, although I didn't like the context of the fight scenes, I really liked seeing Master Chief do some fighty stuff. So
I agree. The end of the last few episodes, the fight scene on that weird planet, and also the fight scene with him and those other Spartans, I felt like were interesting.
Most of the fight scenes I thought were good. As the context behind them, how they got there, maybe what they were trying to do, I didn't really care for. But the actual fight scenes, even though you could argue some of the CG was a little wonky, I was okay with that. Overall, I thought that was good. There were some characters I thought was actually kind of interesting.
I liked Kai. Kai was one of the best characters, yeah.
And although they weren't really developed, I mean, I didn't mind the other two Spartans. They didn't do a lot with them, but kind of the back and forth they had in the last few episodes, trying to convince them. I mean, it's not that it was some Shakespearean writing or anything, but it was nice to see that conflict. And although, and I'm not once again super lore specific here, really knowledgeable on how some of these characters should be, Halsey was at least always interesting to kind of see what she was going to do. I don't know how accurate really it feels wrong to me as far as like how she should have been from the games, at least completely, but it was close enough that I could be like, okay, that kind of works. And she was, I thought, acted pretty well. I mean,
I was gonna agree. I feel like aesthetically and like I feel like they got how the character, like I feel like they got her personality and her character trait and
her
all
main
that.
Motivations were
all
good.
of that is perfect, but they
some
took
of her big overarching actions.
Yeah, they took her over the top, way too over the top towards the end, and it's I don't know.
Yeah, they took her a little far. But anyway, I'm just going to try to stay good for a minute. I think I will give Halsey a mostly good check.
I agree.
In my box. I'm trying to think what else. Was there anything else?
I loved what they did with Cortana, but they did absolutely nothing with her. Cortana
got better towards the end. Like, when they finally shrunk her down, I liked her a lot better.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll tell you, it really did help. Like, once I got over her new aesthetic, the fact they had the actual Cortana voice actor helped a lot.
I agree.
Even though she was a little different than I think how she should have been played, like, from character motivation. Towards the end, she felt pretty Cortana-y. I mean, weird stuff happened at the end, but I mostly liked how that character got to be where she was.
I'm also going to bring up... Or, sorry. I'm also going
to... I like Soren. I'll say that. Last thing.
I didn't like Soren. But I'll bring up one other thing, and it's kind of a new thought. I don't think anyone talked about this entire season. It's really revelatory. I kind of liked Chief when he kept his helmet on a little bit. I know no one has talked about that.
5 minutes of it.
I know. I'm kidding. I towards the end, I was so out on this character. I kind of didn't care. But there were times during the very last scene where I was like, okay, it kind of looks like the games a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was so, like, and we talked about this so long ago. Like, this John was never Master Chief.
No,
like,
no.
There's just no correlation there at all. And the fact that we never got to see him really with his helmet on, I know, like, why they did it. They just did way too much of it. They could have held off on revealing it, or not had him reveal it as often. Like, they could have done any number of things, but they wanted to separate him so much from what we knew as Master Chief that, to me, there was no Master Chief left. He was just some guy.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I would have liked the show better, and I think we've talked about it, if this wasn't... It could even still be a Halo TV show, not a Master Chief show.
It might have been good as like you said, some sort of... I mean, we've said it before, but it looked like a sci-fi TV show. Just call it anything else, like...
Well, okay, I would even give them the leeway to make it a Halo show. Because, I mean, it looks a lot like Halo, and there is some Halo lore stuff they're pulling from that. I feel like...
But he shouldn't have been Chief. He should have been,
Chief.
He should have been Spartan 45, yeah.
Yeah, like, he should have just been Kai. Take Kai's story, made her the focal point. Because they had other AI, too. I don't know if they had any that were similar to Cortana, like, in the lore, but... I mean, the concept of AI is not a new thing. Like in Halo Infinite, you had the weapons. She was another form of AI. Granted, she was, spoiler alert, Cortana. But they could have done pretty much the exact same thing they did with Chief and Cortana with Kai and some other AI. And it could have still been Halsey. I mean, they could have done this story, and I would have been a lot more willing to just let some things slide if it wasn't Chief that they were character assassinating.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead and say. I said what I wanted to say.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I felt, the thought came to my head. What could have been a very interesting story. I don't know if they talked about. I'm just assuming they have in the books and the expanded lore, but like, it could have been really interesting to see how, like, one of the first Spartans, like maybe if the main character was like one of the first Spartans, or one of like the first like super ultra Spartan, like maybe one, like, and then like you could have like done all this same stuff, and then towards the end that you could have killed that character off or something, and you know what I mean, like, and
yeah.
Introduced John where in the first season or two, then you never have to worry about Chief, and you could just run off.
Have to go that far. It could have been this exact same show, but with Kai as the focus. Like, everything they do with Chief, do it with Kai. Chief could even be there. Like, don't remove his helmet. Let's make him, like, the guy in the back. But if the whole focus... Because Kai goes through the same kind of existential crisis that Chief does, right? Mm-hmm. Takes out the chip, realizes she has emotion, discovering herself, all this kind of stuff. Everything that they did with Chief could have been done with Kai or a similar character. They could even have the romance, and I wouldn't have cared about. Like, Chief having the romance, I have a problem with. Some other Spartan... don't care.
You can't have a show with a strong female protagonist. There's no other shows or movies that have ever done that.
Here's like, this has nothing to do with gender politics or any of that.
I'm just kidding. This
is about the way they handled Master Chief. Like, tweaking the Halo lore is one thing, and I know a lot of people probably disagree with this. They'll be a lot more firm on, no, they shouldn't have changed anything. I would have been more okay with them tweaking some of the weird, Halo lore the way they did. And even adjusting, like, what was I going to say? Certain characters to fit, like, the way they did Miranda Keys and whatnot. Like, I probably would have been okay with that if it wasn't Chief in the center that they were just tearing apart.
I agree.
And because in the stuff they've added, the Chief, I don't think helps. Like, it's at least...
No!
There's more questions now.
If this was all canon, this would do damage to how much I like the character of the Master Chief. If this was,
we have no idea what the special link is to Chief and these artifacts, and what's her face, the blonde chick.
Chief is, or Maki.
Maki, yeah.
Chief is supposed to be the ultimate, designed warrior who, like, doesn't give into his emotions or tries not to, and plays by the book. Does what he does, and everything he does is for humanity. And it's like, seeing this guy yell so many times at the top of his lungs and trying to Superman punch a hole through people's chests and trying to lock people up into a room and release dangerous gases that could kill them. You know, it's like, dude,
committing a war crime by sleeping with a
a prisoner of war.
Prisoner of war.
Yeah, it's like, dude,
It's ridiculous. Like, and you can argue what Master Chief's character should and shouldn't be based on
those are things the Master
book,
Chief would never do.
Yeah, all those are things that are so antithetical to that character. Like, it's not even just making him more human. Like, I know that's what people who enjoy the show are going to argue that, no, they're humanizing him. You can humanize someone without destroying their character.
Yes.
And that's what they've done here. Like, and as I said, they could have done, honestly, this entire show without Chief in the front. And I could see Kai doing everything he did. Like, I'd be okay if Kai Superman punched Halsey in the face. That'd be great.
Dude, that was so... I'm sorry, but if we're talking about Halo and I get a quick clip, an image of whatever that scene was, and it makes me want to laugh, you failed in whatever it is you were trying to do. It cutting to Chief in his helmet in that scene where he's like yelling, ah! I'm just like, oh, come on.
I mean, I know why they used Chief. They wanted the marketability of it. Like, you have this big Halo show. How could you not have it about Chief? But I feel like I would have been more accepting. As a fan of Halo, I would have been more accepting of this show if Chief wasn't there. Or at least not in that capacity. But anyway, I've said that far too much, so I will... I don't think there's anything else in particular. You mentioned it, Quan's whole story arc I thought was pointless. I just actually finished, I finished the show itself, a couple weeks ago when the finale aired. I just watched that Quan episode today. I tried 3-4 times over the past 4 weeks to watch it. I couldn't get the first 5 to 10 minutes.
It's just bad. Well,
I think it didn't help that since I had watched... At that point, I'd skipped that episode. I tried to watch it, couldn't do it, and I went straight into 8. When I watched the rest of the series and realized that nothing else happened with Quan, I had even less motivation, because that means whatever she did in that episode literally didn't matter.
It's pointless. It was literally pointless. I think the only thing that of any value you get from that is that I didn't even, to be honest, I was working on a video while watching that episode.
Yeah, I watched in the background, so I didn't get
there's some, her family apparently has access to some sort of portal, and a lot of people now think that she is the way that Chief will access the ring, is that she'll teleport or some sort of portal. That's the whole idea of that. I have it in my notes, when did mysticism and magic become a part of Halo? That whole episode was all about mysticism, magic, doing shrooms and seeing your ancestors and stuff. It's just what? It's dude,
it's taken a whole different direction that doesn't need to be. Even if that is the rationale where they tie things back together, that does not need to be the answer to that solution. That literally was just shoehorning in that character for no reason.
Yeah. Madrigal, everything on Madrigal, I very much didn't like.
I tried to be optimistic to it. I never really liked the character Quan and what they were doing with her, but I was like, well, maybe they'll tie this in interesting. But the fact that they didn't do anything with it was a shame. And Soren, I know you said you didn't like him. And I'm not saying he was a perfect character. I liked the fact I liked the stuff they did with the...
He wasn't a bad character. I think my only problem is that every time you saw him, he was on Madrigal with Quan, so maybe my dislike just kind of rubbed off just because he was a part of that side plot. But he wasn't a bad character. I just...
That episode was so confusing, too, because last I remember, prior to that, Soren was left stranded on Madrigal, and next thing you know, he's back home, and just I was so thrown off with what was going on, how much time had even passed.
Yeah, he lost his ship, didn't he?
Yeah, he lost it, so we never figured out. I guess he was telling the story or something, how he got it back, at the beginning, but it's just I don't know. That was very much, tell not show, and really just to show that he was still in charge of his old group to break that guy's toes back on the ship. I don't know. That's
again,
my attitude about all that.
I'm so kind of indifferent on this show now. I really don't have any interest for season 2.
How do you feel about them? Once again, spoiler alert for anybody who's watching. Haven't watched it. Tip to yourself, but don't go watch it. Just
here's your
sign. How do you feel about Cortana taking over? Is Chief dead? Is that what they're trying to play here, or is he he's a husk now. Like,
I had no idea what they were going for there, to be honest. I forgot about that. Yeah.
yeah, at the end, for those who haven't watched it, once again, spoiler, but Chief basically says the only way I'm gonna win, the only way I can actually, be like Master Chief is if Cortana completely takes over my body and mind. So he basically walks up there to almost commit suicide, so Cortana has no choice but to take over. And I don't know if he actually dies or is just like completely knocked out to where Cortana just takes over his being. And then he's awesome. Like, he actually looks like or acts like, lore specific Chief, where he's doing awesome action and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, like, now there is no human element to John anymore. Like, he is Cortana in a Master Chief suit. And I'm sure at some point they're going to have the thing where, Cortana can find a way to release him, but I don't know why.
I don't care.
Why do we need to do that?
I don't care. I'm not watching season 2. Like, I may
I'm kind of in like train wreck mode though. Like, I say I'm not going to watch it, but when it happens, I think I'm going to be curious enough. Which I know I'm part of the problem now.
I'll wait for the first few reviews and kind of see what people say, and if I hear good things, maybe I'll come back. But I'm pretty.
I know it's not good. I like this season, especially for a Halo fan. This was not a good show.
No,
like, I'll straight up say it. Are there redeeming things about the show, like, in general? Sure, some of the acting was pretty good. Some of the character things they did were kind of interesting. Some of the CG was kind of good. Like, there were some moments that I think were enjoyable to see happen on screen, but as a fan of Halo, you were going to hate this show and the direction they take with it. And that's not going to change in Season 2, 3, 100, what have you. But as I said, I am just kind of in that boat now where I want to see just how far away they're taking this. It's like reading really bad fan fiction. I don't know.
I get what you're saying.
I don't expect this to ever become good. I just, for whatever reason, want to see everything crash and burn.
I don't know if you know, but did you know that the showrunners have left the show?
Oh, no, I did not know that.
Yeah, apparently the showrunners either walked away or have been let go. So a lot of people...
What I find really interesting about that, like, from my understanding, I could be wrong, the ratings have actually been okay on this.
Probably.
Like, I think it's been a hit for Paramount, at least, initially. Like, all the people, signed up for Paramount, I think, to watch this. It might have just been because it was Halo, not saying it was a good show, but, they kind of got, hook, line, sinker kind of dragged into it. So the fact, I feel like a season 2 is a guarantee. So I don't know, to hear that the showrunners are backing out is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it says here, I'll switch over.
Season 1. Huh.
Halo showrunner to exit Paramount Plus series after season 1 exclusive. Says just as the two guys are backing out, so a lot of people are kind of curious as to
showrunner, not showrunners. Are both of them leaving?
I believe so.
We're both attached. Killen departed ahead of the start. Oh, so then I guess they both will have left.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I'm just skimming this. I'm probably missing some stuff here. I wonder if that's going to be better or worse for them. Because here's the thing that everybody was upset about. Before the show even was aired, they said, we ignored the games on purpose because we wanted to tell our story. Which, that was the red flag right there for everyone. So I'm curious maybe if they bring on new showrunners that have any kind of, appreciation for what's already in existence, if they'll try to steer it back on, the right track. But I guess the question is, can they? Like, for as much character assassination has been performed here, do you think they could ever fix this with new showrunners, new direction, or is it just done?
I don't know. I feel like they could recoup and come back, but they would.
Here's the thing, though. Remember, you can't erase what Chief has already done. The fact that he tried to Superman punch Halsey, slept with a prisoner of war, like. That's all still going to be in the back of your mind. Do you think they can get this Chief to be the Chief that we know and love from the games?
No.
Ever?
No.
I think that's kind of the crux of it. No matter how much they fix of the story, Chief is inherently ruined, I feel like.
Yeah.
So this, to me, will never really feel like Halo ever. I mean, it'll be, once again, a show in Halo's clothing, but I don't think because they've broken Chief so much, they can fix that.
Alright, I'm looking through here. Anything else I wanted to add on to this? just episode 9, Spartan's still taking helmets off willy-nilly, I had. Because Kai runs up in that ship and she gets knocked out from behind because she doesn't have her helmet on. Like always.
That was so stupid.
Why aren't your helmet on when you're in battle? Like, I don't know.
Why? Yeah, why do you take the helmet off? Ever. It's like, you don't need to see their face. They know it's you. They know your armor. Like,
Anything else? Oh, I wrote it down, which is something you should never say about the Halo show. But I wrote, almost feels out of character now to see this chief taking control of, hold on, I can't see. Almost feels out of character now to see this chief taking control and seeming like a UNSC leader, LOL. That was like, at a certain point, he like changed his character and kind of became like a leader at some point, and I remember just being like, oh, that doesn't seem right now, because now, this, throughout the entirety of the show so far, I couldn't see this guy leading anybody,
No. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess the only other thing I wanted to mention is Angry Joe. He said something about how, like, the last 15 minutes for him was, like, the only worthwhile thing to watch throughout this show, and
The problem is it was tainted, though.
Yeah.
Like, it was fun to watch, but as I said, as soon as you put the context back in there of what's happening, it's Cortana in a chief husk.
Mm-hmm.
It's also kind of ruined. So, yeah, it's fun to watch, but it also kind of, like, stabs you in the gut. So, I don't even know if I would agree that that was worth watching. I don't know.
I guess. I'm like I said, I'm kind of indifferent to this whole thing. I'm so out on this show. But it is interesting you said that their numbers did pretty well. I mean,
I think. I haven't pulled this up, so I'm speaking on my butt just a little bit here. But I feel like I read, at least initially, this was doing really well for them. And the reviews have not been absolutely terrible. I think IGN gave season 1 like a 7 or something, which, I mean, that's not, great by any means, but that's not the worst thing in the world. And most people who are not Halo fans, and that's, I think, what this is really going to come down to. People watching this on Paramount Plus who are not, like, big Halo fans. I mean, never played the game. They might know who Master Chief is, but have no idea about its story or whatnot. They're probably going to be perfectly fine with this, to be completely honest. Like, they're not going to get why it's such a big deal that, Cortana has completely taken over his body, or why, Chief is broken character, doesn't have a helmet on. To them, they're just like, whatever. Yeah. So this might end up being very successful in its own right, just because they're not making this for the fans. The fans are going to hate this. The rest of the majority of people out there who just say, oh yeah, I know Halo the video game, this could actually do really well for them.
Yeah. Alright guys, well, I feel like for me that's the last time I talk this show. At least, like I said, unless season 2 comes out.
Bringing you back. This is like the core of what this podcast is about now, Chaz. No. We have to talk about something Halo related and tear it apart. We talked about the games, talked about the show. I'm going to start reading books, and I'm going to start yelling about them next week. You just wait.
Not me. Alright, so yeah, that's it for me. So we'll move on to our final topic of the day. It's something we normally do at the very beginning, but we decided to kind of push it on, and we're going to talk about it last.
We didn't want to end on a bad note.
Yes. Yes, this is perfect mouth rinse. This is our Listerine for the night. But essentially, yeah, over the break I streamed and played a new game, and I really enjoyed it. It's a game called Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. I know it's not a small title. A lot of people have heard about it. But it's a game I didn't necessarily get to play immediately, and I finally got to. Once again, this game came out in, 2021? And I know it came out to quite a bit of praise. Won some awards and was in the running for Game of the Year, I believe, from that year. But, yeah, so let me switch over. We'll get some B-roll footage here going. But, there wasn't a heck of a whole lot, actually, that I disliked walking away from this game with. Man, it was just like a pretty great experience through and through. I loved the story, loved a lot of aspects of the gameplay. We can deep a little more into that. I feel like the gameplay was, specifically the combat, was maybe the low point, but even that necessarily wasn't that bad in my opinion. But yeah, just kind of the characters themselves, the world this game built, story, how, everything really worked. I don't know, everything for me just kind of clicked for this game. How about you? I know you played it a long time ago.
Yeah, it's not as fresh from. I think I played it a month or so after it came out. It was over the last holiday. I enjoyed it. I think you are probably putting it higher on your list of like favorite games more than I would. Only because like I'm trying to think how I want to phrase this. There's a lot to love about this game. The writing's really good. Graphically, sometimes it's beautiful. I thought the gameplay itself was fine. It wasn't great. It had moments that I was kind of like, okay, whatever. With what they call them, where you like called your team in to like be like, hey everybody, this is what we have to do. Like,
Oh,
those moments,
the huddle up, or
yeah,
whatever.
like those I got a little tired of. I kind of wish you could have played as the other Guardians. Like, I mean, nothing bad. Like the gameplay is perfectly fine.
Well, that's why I said the low point, if there was a low point for me in the game, was its combat. But it wasn't a deal breaker. It was even entertaining, but it was definitely the weakest aspect of the game, I thought. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean that's kind of where I'm at, and like even like exploring the world, like you have things to collect, but after a while, it felt kind of a little bit of a chore to walk out of your way to go get stuff you didn't really even need. I mean, unlocking costumes was fine, but the world, although it was beautiful to look at, it wasn't super fun to explore. Like this game was very much it was about the story and just kind of walking through it. This honestly probably could have been a Telltale game or like a walking simulator, and I probably would have been about as happy as I was playing through it.
Yeah.
And once again, I'm not trying to say the gameplay was terrible. That's not my point here, but that was not the highlight, and I probably could have taken it or leaving it depending. I kind of feel like, granted for different reasons, but as for a similar feeling, like this reminds you of something like The Last of Us. The gameplay in The Last of Us was never anything incredible, and the environments, although very pretty, exploring was lacking.
I agree.
I thought, but the story is what it was all about. The characters.
The story and the characters is where
that.
the game is like really freaking awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me though, and I think I remember because you said when you were playing through, I think I heard you in your wrap up that this was a game you'd want to play like every year.
I mean, I was riding a high after just beating the game, so. But I definitely think maybe every year or bi-yearly, I do think this is something I would like to. This is something where like now all of a sudden like I'm gonna want to play this maybe every year. Who knows? But I don't know. It's a game.
I don't think. Oh, go ahead. I shouldn't cut you
Just
off.
with a couple other games like Hades, the Mass Effects, BioShocks, stuff like that. It's definitely up there. It's not like above any of those, but yeah, it's up there for me.
I don't think I would ever play this game again.
Really? Oh, I loved
Well, here's
it.
why. Well, it's not that I didn't like it, but for a game like this, what drugged me through and why I always wanted to see was, okay, where is this story going to go? What's going to happen with the characters? I now know all of that. Like, I've experienced this game and this story. I mean, it'd be like watching a movie again, which, I mean, I watch movies again, but this is a much longer take on that, right? Like, a movie, I can sit down for an afternoon and revisit it. I don't know if I'm going to want to spend 20 hours revisiting a story that I already know necessarily. Like, even if I like the story, like, I don't think I'm going to go back and play The Last of Us anytime soon, even though I think it's an amazing story. Because the gameplay is not engaging enough. Like you mentioned something like Mass Effect. Okay, yes, I know the Mass Effect story, but that's not what Mass Effect is about. Like, I mean, yeah, kind of, but it's also about the decisions you make and the way you approach the gameplay and the RPG aspects of it. BioShock is very much a gameplay-heavy game as much as it is narrative. So the fact this is all narrative to me means I'll probably never play it again. Not that I don't like the game at all, the story wasn't worth it. I don't know. I just don't see me taking 20 hours to relive a story I already know all over again.
I think you're crazy.
I might be. You can say that. I don't know. For me to there are games that I like to replay every year as much as I possibly can, but there's got to be a gameplay component to it or a hook that brings me in. Like, I would probably get about the same enjoyment watching a YouTube recap of the story moments of this game as I would to trying to play it again, and I'd be able to do that a lot quicker on YouTube. So
I will say you're kind of right. I mean, I can.
I'm glad I played it through the first time, though. I will say that I am glad I played it through the first time because that experience was a lot of fun. On a repeat, though,
I'll say I can kind of see because I feel like my favorite aspect of this game, other than the characters themselves, was a lot of aspects that are much better and more developed in the Mass Effect game. So I mean, maybe I could make the argument to myself that, like, why not just go play a Mass Effect game if that's what I'm looking. You know what I mean? Like the dialogue options, the making decisions, having, decisions you're making having ramifications. Like all that kind of stuff that I liked from this game. It's way better utilized and better in Mass Effect.
The decision-making aspect in this game was pretty light. Like,
Yeah.
you could change some dialogue stuff.
But I didn't know it was in there at all when I first started playing. That's why I was like, oh man, this is cool.
Yeah, but, like, it doesn't change the overall experience. Like, you made decisions in Mass Effect, at least, before 3.
I didn't pay my fine. That affected my scene at the end.
It did, but that's one scene. It didn't affect you much, but
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying. Yeah, so I'm not trying to down. I think they did a fantastic job with this game. I'm glad this game exists. I'm very much glad I played it.
My favorite part right here.
Yeah. And maybe I will go back and play it one day, like 10 years from now, when I just really can't remember anything about it. But like this game also has a lot of padding. Granted, a lot of the padding worked because you're hearing the banter between your crew, like kind of going back and forth, and that was fun. But I think you even said this. I think it was early on in your game, like the banter is a little glitchy. Like they'll be starting talking conversation.
Very glitchy. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you'll move into a story area, and that conversation is cut short. So the part that makes that traversal worth it is kind of iffy sometimes, but there's good stuff in this game. I kind of wish it was more of a Mass Effect-y experience almost, because like there would have been more meat to it, right? What if you could have just like picked anywhere in the galaxy to go and like run off on little like smuggling runs or little jobs with the team, like that could have been neat, and maybe that would be the evolution of this game.
Maybe like a wider, expanded what is her name? Lady Hellbender? Was her name Hellbender?
Yeah, maybe. Like stuff where you get like more side missions to do. Maybe that would bloat this up too much. I don't know. Maybe that's the wrong direction, because I think what made this game work too was how tight the narrative was. But I said that would be something that would bring me back one day if it had just more to do beyond the narratives. I don't know. I'm kind of stuck in between this a little bit. Like on one end, I'm glad it was this very focused experience. But at the same time, I just don't know if it's an experience that I'm going to come through again. That's maybe just me personally. Some people probably love everything about this and want to relive it every year.
So is it is it less replayable than, I haven't played the new ones, but the new Spider-Man game?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Here's the thing. Like, the new Spider-Man game, okay, yeah, the story is, good enough. It's the gameplay. Like, swinging around, doing those activities. There's also, more side missions. Granted, some of it's busy work, but the game, like, I just play that game just to swing around New York City. Like, there could be no story, and I would have played that game. So they're very different, focuses, and there, is definitely room in the market for it. But I think that also makes a game like this really difficult to produce in a market like this, because it's really risky, especially in the era of Let's Plays. Because, as I just said, I would have been happy probably just watching this game almost. And if I had watched you play this whole game through before I ever played it, I don't know if I would ever play it after that.
That's fair enough.
So, and that's the whole argument. But
it's definitely not my favorite superhero game, I would say. I'm still a big Arkham guy. Like, I would still much rather play any of the Arkham games. Well, maybe I like this one more than 3, but maybe they're on par. I don't know. These are the Marvel games.
There's just more to do in those games. Like, the stories are good, but granted, those aren't all narrative, but they have better gameplay. Like, the combat in those games, especially at the time, was a huge amount of fun and fairly revolutionary. And you have all the challenges and riddle stuff and things to collect. Like, it was a bigger game.
I will say oh, sorry, go ahead. Cutting you off.
No, go ahead.
One thought I thought is, I did think the game kind of ran a little long.
It's hard to drag.
In certain parts, there's certain parts on some of the planets that I feel like the whole part where you were going down into like this cave system and going through like this mysticism thing. I felt like that went on pretty long. That was like the whole part where you were trying to save Drax from his.
Yeah, that went long. Yeah. I felt like the trek to Fing Fang Foom went a little long. Like, I really liked the Fing Fang Foom fight and kind of the premise of it, but I felt like that time it took to you to get
the fight
to
with the weird monkey
Wendigo.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Yeah, I feel like that started to lull in the middle. I felt like they were just kind of padding it out at that point.
If it would have shaved off maybe like 5 to 10, I feel like it would have been a much better experience.
And that may have, if it was a little shorter, my opinion might change it if I'd replay it too. Like, if the game was 10 hours long,
10 to 15, yeah.
Yeah, I might run through it again. I wouldn't, spend a lot of time doing a lot of collectibles.
But 20 to 25, yeah.
Yeah, that extra 10 hours is enough to be like, I could play a different game. So, I don't know. I liked the game, as I'm glad it exists. I don't know. I don't want to come across negative about the game because I really did enjoy it. I know you did too. So
I really enjoyed it. There's so many cool things. Like I said, the whole scene with Lipless is like something I'll always remember. The battle with Fing Fang Foom was really cool. I loved freaking Cosmo. He's such a good boy.
And it was emotional towards the end too. The whole "not your daughter is your daughter" kind of thing. Like, and that hit me because I got a kid, I got a daughter. I was like, oh yeah. So, it definitely, I think, was written well, and the characters were done really well. So. Yeah. And there were a bunch of cool little Easter eggs too. If you really dig into it, like the amount of time they spent on the environments and on Nowhere and all the little stuff they hid in there.
Oh, the whole the collectors thing. I don't know if you saw my stream, but did you see my stream when I was at the collector part? I literally sat through and read every collector's item that was there.
Yeah, they put way too much effort in that than was required, and I think it was awesome that they did all those little details. Honestly, the Nowhere part was probably one of my favorite parts because it was finally a part where you could take time and explore. That's kind of why I wish this was a bigger game to a certain extent, where there were areas like that I could just, not on a time schedule, not trying to push the narrative. I can just explore, maybe find some little side missions.
Mass Effects were always heavy on that. It drops you into a new place, like on Omega, and you just walk around and see the people dancing and go up and get a drink, get wasted.
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe there's a world where this merged with a Mass Effect in some way could have been really cool. I said maybe that would have made it too bloated.
You're right, though. The Nowheres. I was just thinking about the part where you go up and you order the food at the thing. I was sitting there eating each item. I was paying for each item to eat. Yeah.
And that's I think a spot too where there actually were a lot of decisions you could kind of make that had impact. That's where you could pay your fine, or there was something else you could do. There was a lotto system you could do that I think had some impact. There was some neat stuff there that I kind of wish they would have fleshed out in other areas, but I don't know. I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here because I think there's a world too where if they would have done that, I'd be like, man, I wish this game was a lot shorter, just focused on the story. I don't know. Because here's the thing too: if the gameplay wasn't better and they tried to stretch it out, I think I would have been more disappointed. So I think they also would have needed to revamp the actual moment-to-moment gameplay to make something like that worth it.
I will say one thing that was kind of a disappointment is there wasn't a lot of recognizable other Marvel characters involved. I'm not big on a lot of the deep lore, so this is the first time I was learning what the Nova Corps was. I don't know if Lady Hellbender or whatever her name was an actual character from the comics.
I'm sure she was. I don't know a lot about it. I was kind of glad though there wasn't a lot of crossover.
Maybe okay.
I think probably many people are getting
Cosmo was one of the few I was okay. I've heard of him somewhere.
Yeah. It seems like most of everything in this stayed within the canon of just the Guardians, which I was fine with. The first Guardians movie pretty much did the same thing too. It didn't have a whole lot of overlap. Not saying cameos aren't fun, but I don't think this needed that. I am glad they stayed really focused because at the same time, I was talking it'd be nice if this game was bigger. We saw what they tried to do with a bigger live service game kind of thing with Avengers, and that was a crap show. So I think this was a nice palate cleanser as an opposition of that. Just very focused and did what it wanted to do. So I don't want to come across this game should have been something completely different. I am glad this game is what it is, and I hope it gets a sequel. I think now that it's on Game Pass, that opens the door to it a little bit.
Well, no, didn't they say because Square Enix got bought out? I thought they said that means... Well, I guess there's no definitive answer, but they said it's less likely now that they got bought out by Embracer Group.
Not necessarily. Here's the thing. Square would not have made a sequel to this, period. I don't think I had a lot of confidence in it. It didn't do well for them initially.
Well, yeah, we talked about it. didn't sell well.
Yeah, that was, I think, just a way for them to recoup something. Embracer Group doesn't have that same loss or investment. They now have this game and they have a studio, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which studio actually made it?
I'm pretty sure they do.
Either way, so they have the resource, they have the engine sitting here. So honestly, it's less of an investment to a certain extent for them to make a sequel, because some of the tech's already there. Maybe there's already a story already kind of working around in the development team, and it seems like Embracer Group might be a little riskier with this kind of thing. So I don't know. I think it actually opens the door to see something like this happen again. I would hope so, because this was a good game. I think because they don't have the negative kind of hit that Square Enix took, it seems like a favorable thing for them to do, especially with all the good praise that it got critically.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Game Pass now is getting more attention. Why wouldn't they want to tap into that again? So I don't know. And they got Guardians 3 coming out before too long, so why not try to capitalize on that?
What did you think about some of the liberties it took with some of the story, or at least what to me is liberties, because I kind of gauged everything off of the movies. Maybe some of the things that happened in it were more closely to the book comics, for all I know.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thing. Like, I'm not real lore specific on Guardians, or really a lot of comics. I know passing details.
Like there was no romantic thing with Gamora, and the way everything that happened with the mom seemed.
But I'm not even sure if that's always the case in the comics either. Like, here's what I probably mentioned this on a prior podcast. My big thing whenever I see an adaptation on anything is that the characters stayed true to who they are. Every one of these characters in this game feel right.
Yeah.
Peter Quill is right. Rocket's good. Gamora, Drax, Groot. Everybody feels right. The specifics on like how they came to be, what they do, that can change. And here, I would have felt the same way about the Halo show. If the characters would have been right and they changed things about the circumstances, I probably would have been more forgiving if Chief felt like Chief. If Halsey interacted like I expected Halsey to interact. Like, this works for me with the way they did Guardians. Maybe it's not lore accurate to the comics. Maybe it is. It doesn't matter, because I could foresee all these characters doing these exact things in this situation because those characters are accurate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my stance.
No, I agree. Let me look at my notes. I don't think there's really anything else.
How do you feel about having to re-upload like every Let's Play you did?
I didn't have to. I only had to do 2 episodes because they were They were different copyright claims. Basically, every video I had copyright claims on it, but the only ones that were copyright taken down were ones that had the "Call Me" by Blondie on it. So literally any video I had that Blondie played in the background, that got taken down. So whoever owns the rights to Blondie, man, I don't know. They don't like their stuff being used. But every other music maker just put a copyright claim and was like, whatever.
So a question for you then. This is kind of getting off Guardian specific, more of a YouTube creator question.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if you want to go into this, but so I know you're not looking to monetize this particular video or anything. But how would say you were some big time YouTuber, 5 years from now, and you were going to stream this game and knew that if you streamed it as is, you couldn't make a dime off it. Would you still stream it as is so that the people viewing would actually get to have the full experience, or would you try to block out copyrighted music and all that kind of stuff?
I don't know. It's so situational. I feel like for the most part I would still stream. I still want.
So unedited, you'd stream it
unedited,
just all the copyrighted stuff?
And I would just keep doing what I'm doing. I would re-upload.
What if you're losing out on $100,000, Chaz? What are you gonna do? Checking your morals.
Again, I went in. I started this channel with no expectations, so if there's a point, I kind of just everything I kind of treat as though I'll wait until I cross that bridge till I get there. For now,
okay,
we're good.
I'm sorry. So kind of building on that. So if you did decide to pull the music from this game, do you think it would affect the experience? If this game did not have that copyrighted music, would it still be the same game?
No.
Or would you feel
no.
worse?
I would feel worse because the music is a big aspect of the movies and the comics, I'm sure. So I feel like to have the Ultimate Guardians experience, you needed the 80s music. You needed Star-Lord's interaction with his cassette. You needed that. I feel like it was necessary. So, again, I don't have any like gripes with how any of that was implemented with with the game. I guess it's more annoying to me, like just the idea that they're there. Like, it's like I still am never like, I don't know. I'm arguing in my head the idea, but I guess I understand it. How like yeah, the music companies may have struck a deal with the game that like the music can be used there, but technically they never struck a deal with it being streamed out. So I guess I kind of understand that, but I don't know.
Yeah, and those are all fair. And so I'm not trying to put you in the spot, but I don't know. I think we've had conversations about this with like YouTubers basically doing what YouTubers do as far as Let's Players. I mean, there's a rabid community that would argue against this, but I mean, you gotta think, you don't own this content.
Oh no, I agree. I'm, as a content creator and as someone who is streaming this, I was totally at the behest of whatever the the copyright system was. Like, I was willing to I wasn't I was willing to put in the time to go and re-edit, and I got those videos still put up. I don't know if you gotten to listen to some of my edits.
Yeah, a couple of them.
Yeah, I like my tone down is way down, and I put like a wobbly.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny, but yeah, like, if you do what you got to do, I mean, I'm
gonna ask a different question. I know I'm getting way off topic, but I don't know. I'm in the mood. So I kind of alluded to this earlier. Like, so if I had watched you play this game before I ever played it, I probably wouldn't. How do you feel about that? Especially with games like this that are so like, they're not gameplay focused. They are very narrative, and in a way, because someone's watching you play this game, the developer, especially in a situation like this where Square Enix would have very much liked to see the revenue from this game come in, you might have cost them a sale. Do you feel that way, or do you feel like there's like a weird obligation as a Let's Player to safeguard that potential sale for the person's game that you're playing?
Not really. I mean,
So what if 100,000 people watched you play this game, and maybe half of them were considering buying the game beforehand, but after watching you, now only a tenth of them is going to go get it. So you may have actively, and I don't know, I'm being theoretical here, but you actively cost Square Enix 40,000 sales.
I don't know though. I mean, isn't streaming so ubiquitous at this point though that like shouldn't the industry at some point figure out how to work with that kind of stuff? You know
how they're going to do it. They're going to start giving you you're not going to be able to monetize videos. They're going to have you have to actually take a cut of whatever you make. Like, that's the only way they're going to be able to do that is if they get a piece of your pie. But here's the thing, you're taking a piece of their pie. So I know I am playing devil's advocate here. I'm sure there's somebody in the comments.
I like your argument. I'm just saying I don't particularly feel bad. No, I mean, it's, again, I'm
right now too. You're not doing that because I mean it's all kind of small scale. But I don't know. These are the kind of moral conundrums I think about. It's always kind of rubbed me in a weird way.
Yeah. No. No, I agree with that. I mean, again though, it's weird. Everyone in my chat that was watching my streams had already played this game. Like, literally, there was I don't know, just a few examples. There was a girl who was talking in the chat about how she said she had already played the game, but she's like, she said she was just wanting to watch someone else play it. She said it was just like a movie to her, and I thought that was interesting. I was like talking to her in chat saying like, that's interesting. You viewing this as a movie, and then there's another person in chat who was just watching to see how I beat some levels because he was having trouble on a harder difficulty. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's a bunch of ways to take this. I said I'm giving you some really theoretical things that may or may not directly play out, but you got to think. I mean, there are some sales that in some way, shape, or form probably lost because someone who might have been interested in this game might have went and bought it, has now seen the game played out. Maybe you can say, okay, that's on them. They shouldn't have watched it if they wanted to buy it, but I don't know, especially for these narrative games. I've seen a lot of YouTubers, not necessarily Let's Players specifically, but like if they're coming across a game like this, they will only stream or put videos out for like the first third of a game or however much, and then they say, okay, the rest of it I don't want to spoil, you go do whatever. And
I mean, maybe at some point it might be a good idea for these companies to, like, I don't know, reach out and work with the big streamers. Like, you can have like advertising. I mean, like, the big streamers have sponsors. Like, try and get them to, if I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, tell them. Well, I guess no, that would be up to the music company, not up to them. I was gonna say they would waive copyright but that's the music company. That's not the game company.
I think it very much depends on the game too. Like, some games you can market like that. Like, I remember one of the big deals about potentially like Stadia, when Stadia was still something that was a thing, was because it was cloud based. You could be watching a streamer playing your game, and then they could click on a link in your game and join you, and like, that's a benefit to the developer because it actually encourages engagement. But that's also a multiplayer game, or maybe a game set up a little differently. Like, I'm curious about just specifically these type of heavily narrated games, or even more so ones that don't have almost any gameplay. Like, the one that always comes to mind, this kind of spurred this whole thought experiment, was many years ago. You remember the game Firewatch?
Yeah. It was like a walking simulator.
Yeah, this was the first time I had kind of read an issue or about a developer taking issue about this, pretty much. They said, I could be very misquoted because it was many, many years ago, but basically so many Let's Players streamed their game from beginning to end, and because it's a completely narrative, non-gameplay focused walking simulator-like game, not no one, but a much smaller percentage bought their games. I know that's a hard thing to prove or verify, because who can say who would have bought what, but you gotta argue that there's some truth to that.
Well, Square Enix is owned by a much larger company now, so now they can afford it. They can afford to take that loss. I don't know. I'm being
hold on,
a jerk.
Square Enix. Okay, Square Enix did not sell themselves to Embracer. They sold many of their IP.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Square Enix is still Square Enix, to my knowledge, unless I really, really missed out on something. They sold most of their Western division, but held on to a few things like Life is Strange.
I know that. I don't know. I just zoned out. I actually zoned out watching my own gameplay.
I'm asking all the hard probing questions.
No, I get what you're saying. I don't know. It's so tough to like.
I'm not trying to make you feel bad about streaming the game. That's not my point here. It's just it's one of those things I think about every once in a while when I'm watching Let's Players run through, because I tell you, there have been games that I have thought about picking up, and then I watch them play it. It's not just like as a demo thing or that the game was bad. I'm like, oh, well, that was that game. I don't need to play it now. They definitely lost a sale for me, I'll tell you, for certain games.
Well, that's probably a big reason why a lot of these companies are so adamant about selling off or merging. They're not wanting to take, like you said, take that risk of people streaming or them losing sales and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know.
And that's why they're afraid to make games like Guardians of the Galaxy or things like that, because it's hard to guarantee, I think, a good monetization track out of this. Like, the only way they make money off this is if people go out and buy this game. There's not recurring like microtransactions, which, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they should have put that in. I'm very, very thankful they didn't, but
careful,
because there isn't, and there's not a lot of ads, and it's not a live multiplayer component. Their money comes from the sales, or I guess like Game Pass deals in this case. But it's just a tricky thing. I think that's why you don't see a lot of games like this from these bigger developers. Smaller developers, because it hurts them too. I mean, that's the whole issue with the Firewatch thing. So I don't know. It's getting late. I won't probe your brain.
No, you're fine. It is getting late, but I don't know. Just again, overall thoughts. Really enjoyed Guardians. I agree with you. I would love to see a sequel. It's definitely a title I think is worthy, and I would love it. I would actually recommend. You know what? I recommend everyone going out and playing the game themselves. Don't just watch me play. Go out and support us, good old Square or whoever.
That's a good ChazmaN.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there anything else about Guardians? I mean, that's basically everything for me all wrapped up.
Well, let me ask, if they do make a sequel, do you want them to pretty much do this game again with just a new story, but like really similar flow and feel, or do you want them to expand to, like we were talking about, a Guardians of the Mass Effect or
Mass
Effect
I would expand. by far. Like I wouldn't be disappointed if they backed away from combat. Not completely, but tone it down. Like combat was fine in this game, but it by no means was like, I don't know, I felt like I was just doing the combat sections, just waiting to get to another dialogue or just to see what the next, cutscene was. I mean, it very much felt like a movie. It felt, I feel like that's part of the, the whole reason people like the Telltale stuff is because it feels more movie. That's why a lot of those IPs they had were movie oriented, or TV show. I don't know.
Yeah. I think what always helped the Telltale ones from, I think, fall into that same trap we were talking about from like the walking simulator stuff is because most of them had a lot of like impactful decision making. So like, it opened itself up for replayability and whatnot. But a game like this, they didn't really dig into it. So maybe if they did that with this game, more decisions, more branching combat, that would probably incentivize people to play it more than just watch it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think that just about does it. I mean, did you have anything else that you wanted to mention, Phoenix?
Nope, I've taken us way too far off track too many times tonight.
Oh, hold on. I actually did have one thing I wanted to show. I meant to show it at the beginning, but I guess the end is just as good. I couldn't let you show off your acquisition many episodes ago, but mine finally came in. My Scott Pilgrim versus the World, my complete edition. Oh, yeah. See, it's not as fancy as Phoenix's, but
I can't see it. I don't have your picture up there, so I'm just assuming it looks great.
No, it looks. Let me see. How can I? If I move OBS over.
I need to see it. Oh yeah, there you are.
There you go.
Wow, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Oh, bow chicka wow wow wow. So cool. I like it. It actually has like a VHS kind of like cover here.
Like a big old Genesis box.
Yeah, it's so cool. But yeah,
I think I have the vinyl they're shipping to me from the soundtrack, so I'm still waiting on that.
It's cool though. Like I bought it a long time ago, and I actually was supposed to get it a while ago, and they got lost in translation. They missed the shipment. I think they said it went to GameStop. So someone at GameStop got a free copy of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Nice. But yeah, they were super cool, man. It's my first time buying from Limited Run Games, and they were super cool. They were just like, okay, just send us your address and we'll send you another one. I was like, oh, sweet.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's my first purchase from them, and I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I'll tell you because I got the KO edition. This collector's edition has spoiled me to like every other video game collector's edition out there. Like, what was the game they announced recently? The Turtles game, the Shredder's Revenge.
Oh, that collector's did not look that great.
But most of them now don't look that good to me after I've gotten the Scott Pilgrim one. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but that's like the pinnacle to live up to. Man, if you haven't ever seen the Scott Pilgrim KO edition, whether you're a fan or not, Google it. It is the most intense collector's edition I've ever had.
I'd rather have that one, but I'm perfectly happy with this thing. This thing's pretty cool too for, what was it, $60 I think I paid.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for the I mean, I'm not saying the KO collection was worth the price. I don't remember how much it was. Probably too much.
Didn't you not even buy it? Your wife bought it for you?
It was a birthday present. So
don't act like you spent your hard-earned money.
Well, I'm just saying. But anyways, yeah, look it up if you haven't. If you're a Scott Pilgrim fan, if you're not, you should be. So you should go check it out.
Yeah. But yeah. Oh shoot! I know there was one thing. Oh man, what was
Let it in, Chaz. Stop keeping us here long.
Oh man, there was something I wanted to mention. Anyways, all right, guys. I think that. Oh man, I'm gonna remember it like right when we hop off here. Anyways, guys. Shoot. What?
Anyway.
No, I refuse. I'm not editing that out. This is gonna be the first episode I don't have to do a single edit for. So there you go. That's for you guys. Maybe eventually, if I get good enough at talking, we'll start doing it live. Like
give him a like. That way he stops editing every one of his videos to overextend. Just let it be, Chaz. Be yourself.
As the great and unemployed Bill O'Reilly once said, we're doing it live. But yeah. I did have something I want to mention. I just want to say thank you so much for watching, guys. Hopefully, this form of entertainment is something that can, take people's, take your attention off of the things happening in the real world, at least for what, 2 hours 22 minutes. That's all I want to say. Just hopefully we were some sort of entertainment for you guys. So yeah, Phoenix. I mean, we kind of went through the doc for next week. Anything you're playing right now? Still nothing.
Too busy.
We need to play another 2-player.
I really I know you haven't gotten one yet, but man, I want somebody to play Returnal co-op with.
It's coming to PC. Did you see that? There's like rumors.
I saw, but that doesn't mean there's going to be cross-play. I mean, I would hope.
True.
But I don't know.
If I can get my hands on a PS5, I will play it. I have the money sitting in my one of my other accounts. It takes a couple days for it to transfer, and I refuse to take it out until I see a PS5, and I just keep missing them when they pop up.
Fair enough. Well, we'll play something. Maybe we can go back and finish that DLC for your favorite game, Tiny Tina's.
Oh.
Kill that shark.
I'm down. Whenever you want to play, just let me know. I'll have I have a whole weekend and Monday off, so whatever.
All right, we'll figure it out.
All
right.
I also want to play A Way Out at some point.
Oh yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that was Enter ChazmaN. This is our week 10 episode. As always, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. We love you. We can't wait to see you on the next week. And thank you so much for joining me, Phoenix. You've been great as always. What a champ.
Oh, you're a sweetie.
All right, guys. We'll see you again. Bye-bye. Night-night. Adios, muchachos.
Bye.